going to now call this meeting of the Mayor and Board of Aldermen to order for the City of Natchez. We welcome everyone here. We'll ask, if you would, to please stand for our prayer. Our prayer is being given to us, Father Scott Thomas of St. Mary's, and following the prayer, we will also repeat together our Pledge of Allegiance. Father Scott, thank you for being here this evening.
Yes, thank you for having me. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, as we come before you, you teach us in the Psalms how great and lovely and wonderful it is when brothers and sisters live in unity. Fill us with your Spirit this evening and guide this board in our city, that we may always strive to build a more just society and a safe community for all who live here, so they may flourish in fulfilling your will and to the best of their ability and being their true selves. And we ask all this through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Let us together salute our flag and repeat our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. We'll ask the clerk to administer the roll call.
Thank you, Mayor. Alderman Hall. Here. Alderman Frazier.
Here.
Alderman Smith. Here. Alderwoman Irving. Here. Alderman Davis.
Here.
Alderman Dillard. You have a quorum, Mayor.
All right, thank you so much. The next item on the agenda is our public hearing. We will recognize Ms. Anita Smith, but first we need a motion to call to order our public hearing. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion has been made by Alderman Davis and seconded by Alderwoman Hall. Any discussion on the motion? Are there any opposed to the motion? Hearing none, motion carries. It's good to see you, Ms. Smith. And Ms. Smith, may I say thank you for helping us get in the mood of Christmas around here early. Hallmark came to Natchez, and with it we had to dress it up. And you do a great job for us. Thank you for that.
No problem. I tried.
All right. Well, Ms. Smith, we recognize you at this time.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor and Board.
Good evening.
My name is Anita Smith. I do community improvement
Can you speak
today.
in the mic, Ms. Smith? Thank you.
Today is September 28, 2021, public hearing to adjudicate nuisance lot pertinent to the Mississippi Code of 1972. The first notice was sent on August the 31st. The pictures was taken August 31st through September the 28th, because I took pictures this morning. The legal notice was published September the 19th, 2021. The board meeting is tonight. And because we already have a long agenda, I won't read the resolution, so y'all are familiar with the resolution. So we'll go down to the properties which needs to be adjudicated. McIntyre Boulevard, 303, grass and weeds.
Bless you.
McIntyre Boulevard, 113, grass and weeds and property maintenance. Rankin Street North, 804, grass and weeds and property maintenance. Mount Carmel Drive, 154, grass and weeds. Rankin Street North, 505, grass and weeds and dangerous structure. McIntyre Boulevard, 209, grass and weeds. That's it.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Smith. This is a public hearing. Do we have anyone here who would like to address the board on behalf of their property being on the list pursuant to the public hearing and the reason we're here? We will take you one at a time. Yes, sir, if you'll approach to the, we have two of you. We'll take you in order. Yes, sir. If you will, just state your name and address, and we will recognize you at this time.
My name is Harold G., and the address we're talking about is 505 North Rankin. We have current pictures. We have current pictures. We've done some work on it. One of the problems is a tree from one of the neighbors' trees fell on the house, and it was a long time before he got around to taking the tree off the house, and he got part of the job done. The workers threw all the branches up against the side of our house, so I can't get a ladder up on the roof. But I think if you see the photos, it's much improved from the picture here. Yes, we did.
Okay.
There's the side,
All right.
and let me just show you this. There's all the trees on the side, and the trees still on the side of the house.
Okay.
That's why it's kind of hard for me to get it on the roof.
Okay, no problem. So how long can you give me a good phone number and a good address for you? Okay. Yeah, that's where I sent the notice to. Yeah, okay, you got it. Okay.
Mr. G., I see you're conferring with Ms. Smith. Ms. Smith, what would your recommendation be to the board concerning that property?
He has gotten a good start on it, so if he continue on, that's fine with me, but he have to completely clean that property. Everything up there needs to be gone.
Okay. So would you suggest then that we delete it from the list for now pending further cleanup?
I wouldn't suggest that you delete it from the list. I would say go ahead and adjudicate it because Mr. G lives in New Orleans because he has a 504 phone number.
Yes.
But his mail goes to 503 Monroe Street. And I sent this notice out around the 1st of September. So he has had ample time to get up there and do it before today, and he just started today.
Okay. Okay.
Can I ask one question?
Sure.
Mr. Callaway?
Ms. Anita, when you were talking to Mr. G just then, did I overhear him admit to receiving your notice?
Beg pardon?
Did he admit he received your notice when y'all were discussing this over there?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, I think, and I have every confidence that they will follow through with that cleanup, okay? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Much
Mr.
appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. G. Yes, sir.
I think 303 McIntyre.
And thank you, Brian. You can remove your mask while you're addressing us. It's good to see you.
Good to see you too,
And give
Brian.
us your full name and address for the purpose of the meeting.
Brian McKnight, 303 McIntyre Boulevard. The way we started cleaning on that, but the way that property is set up and the way it's divided is divided in 3 sections. The property was originally purchased not knowing that the residents didn't come with it, so it's just an open lot and it's split in two different ways. So I don't know who the other person is that owns the other part. But now the front part, we already started cleaning on that. And there was another address, I think you sent me another one for 11 Wiggins Lane. Yeah, 11 Wiggins Lane has been done, and we started on that property also, but like I said, I don't know who owns it. I really have to go to the city again and see how it's divided, but it will be taken care of.
Okay, thank you so much. Any questions for Mr. McKnight?
Phone number will be good.
Okay.
Brian,
601-334-4600.
Thank you.
Alderman Frazier?
Brian,
Yes, sir.
that's 303 McIntyre, is that, I'm trying to place out exactly where that's at.
It's over there down from, Thompson, to where the Head Start.
Yeah, I know where McIntyre,
Mr. Frazier,
yes, ma'am.
it's the lot behind Mr. Skipper's house. You know where Mr. Skipper is on, West Deers Lane?
That's what I'm,
Yeah.
that's what I'm trying to get, yeah. That lot there, where they used to have the horse at all the time.
Yes, sir.
So you own that property?
Yes, sir.
You just took possession of it, am I correct? How long you been having it?
About 2 or 3 years.
So evidently before you, someone didn't tell you about the condition of that lot, am I correct?
Actually, when I purchased that lot, it was a house that was there, and I thought I was purchasing that house. But once I came down here and
Sir,
they
can you
showed-
talk into the mic?
It was a shotgun house there. I thought I was purchasing that house that's took right next to it. It's a white and blue house. But the way it's divided, it's a A, B, and a C to that lot. So that was the conflict. And me thinking I purchased the house, I was actually keeping the yard where the house was cut. If you've been through there today, you see their yard been cut. But that's when we found out that that house and none of that goes with that.
That's the Jones house, the old Mr. Jones house.
I don't know, Mr. Clint Owens, it's a Woods, their last name is Woods, cause they came over.
Yeah, Mr. Woods, he's deceased. Yeah, he used to own that house, but it really was owned by Mr. Jones,
If,
Mr. Mayor.
yes, sir.
I'm trying to,
Yes, I was just gonna ask if you could, we need to stay on tap. We've got a long agenda tonight.
yes, sir.
And I think Mr.
I'm
McKnight
trying to-
has said
I'm
he's
trying-
cleaning it
Mr.
up.
Mayor, I'm trying to get some.
Yes, sir, Alderman Frazier.
I'm trying
A
to
couple
get
more
some-
minutes. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. But I'm trying to find out, because reason why I'm asking, because it's confusing me, because I always thought that Mr. Jones, Mr. Woods owned that house.
Owned that whole
And the
city.
lot next to him was owned by the previously was owned by the Skipper.
Okay.
So you mean to tell me you don't own that lot right there, just the house?
No, I own the lot and don't own the house.
Oh, okay.
That's how, I thought I purchased the house, but once I got out here and they showed how it's divided into A, B, and C, I have the front piece of the lot. Somebody else got the back side of the lot, and somebody else got this side of it.
Like I said, excuse me, Mr. Mayor, the reason why I asked that question, and I just want to let the public know, I own the house next to that lot.
You do?
Yes.
The White House?
No, the other house on the corner. That's my
Okay,
house. That's
yeah.
where I grew up at.
Okay.
So I was just, I know you own the lot, so I just was trying to find, you own that lot now.
Yeah, well, I own half of that lot.
So I'll get with you, and me and you can talk about, we can get something going.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Alderman Frazier. Ms. Smith, I will ask, this addresses the part that Mr. McKnight owns. What about the rest of that lot? Is
That
all,
lot-
are we being told that 303 McIntyre is actually divided into 3 parcels?
Well, the Geo Porter doesn't show it divided into 3 parcels. It shows it's divided into 2 parcels, and that is 303 and 305. And 305 is what is what he cleaned up was 305. He
Okay.
didn't clean up 303.
Okay. So once this is cleaned up, it should take care of the situation there.
Yes, sir.
But we're still waiting on the owners of 113 and 209.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Anyone else here that wants to speak to the public hearing on these properties? All right. I will entertain a motion to adjourn the public hearing. Alderman Davis has made the motion. We'll entertain a motion after we come back to regular session. I need a second.
Second.
A second by Alderwoman Hall. Any discussion on the motion? Are there any opposed to the motion? Hearing none, we adjourn now the public hearing. Thank you, Ms. Smith.
Thank you,
I
Mayor.
will entertain a motion to approve the resolution that has been so stated.
So moved.
A motion has been made by Alderman Davis,
Second.
seconded by Alderwoman Hall. Any discussion on the motion? We will call for the question.
Call.
We'll proceed to a vote. All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The ayes have it, motion carries. Just a point of clarification, even though the adjudication process continues, at the time that your property is clean, it will be taken off of the list.
Correct.
All right, and I would suggest you stay in touch with Ms. Smith, so when the property is clean, she will know, and she will be happy, I'm sure, to take it off of the list.
Mr. Mayor,
Thank you.
I just have a concern.
Yes, Alderwoman Irving?
Not only clean, but all the debris will be removed as well?
Yes,
Okay, because.
that's right. The debris does have to be removed by you. Our ordinance only allows for debris removal if it's 3 cubic yards or less, no longer than 5 feet in diameter. No, it's 4 feet in diameter and no more than 4 feet in length and 5 inches in diameter. That's probably clear as mud, but that is the ordinance. Any questions? Thank you so much. Thank you. We will now go to our agenda, welcome visitors. Before we, Mr. Burns, if you'll permit me to do this, we have someone who's been working really hard all year on audits for us, and I don't want to make this too long a night for him because he's put in some long nights already. Mr. Carr Hammond, we're going to recognize you at this time. Mr. Hammond has been working with us and his firm Silas Simmons for the past year to get the city caught up on our audits. A year ago, if you'll recall, we were three years behind on our audits. We were also, as Ms. Bartley can tell you, in danger of losing millions of dollars of grant funds needed for our transit system. We had to make calls, we had to make visits, we had to write letters, and we're very grateful that the Mississippi Department of Transportation has worked with us throughout the year as we have been getting these audits caught up. I was very pleased to talk to Commissioner Tom King the other day and let him know that we would be passing the final audit today, and as of today, we would be caught up. And the other good news about this is we'll be hand delivering the audit tomorrow and in person, and it will allow the city to apply for a $500,000 grant, a TAP grant for a major project for downtown Natchez. Mr. Hammond, you've helped us get this done.
Yes, sir.
But I also want to say we've had some help from a consultant that the city has had on retainer for several years, Mr. Wallace Collins. And Mr. Collins and I spoke at length early this morning, and Mr. Collins also said it would not be possible without the excellent work done by our city clerk, Savia Fortenberry, and our deputy clerk, Ms. Savitris Dillon. And so we have come a long way in a year, and we have now completed 3 audits in 1 calendar year. This is unheard of. Mr. Hammond, I'd like for you now to present the audit to the board for our
Okay.
consideration.
All right, I think y'all probably all have hard copies. I think Ms. Fortenberry gave everybody hard copies. This is just a draft. This is not actually the final version, but I mean, as soon as y'all approve it, it can be final, and we can have you bound copies tomorrow. I know you want to try to take them to Jackson tomorrow, so we'll have that ready for you in the morning. But so this is September 30th, 2020, fiscal year end September 30th, 2020. And like the mayor said, it'll be due at the end of this month. So the first time in quite a long time, y'all will be all caught up on your audit requirements. So the next next audit will be due June 30th of 2022. It'll be that's because of the federal funds, you're going to have a single audit, so your next audit will be June 30th, 2022. But I'm just going to talk about 9/30/20. I'm just going to kind of hit the high points. If anybody has any questions, you can stop me. or wait until afterwards. Let's see, first off, I'm just going to go to the audit reports. This would be page 1, 2, and 3 in the hard copy. So this is our independent audit report specifically on the financial statements. And so you'll see there's several different paragraphs in here. They outline everybody's responsibility. The city and the management, the city clerk, they're responsible for the financial statements, and we, Silas Simmons, we're responsible for doing an audit on the financials and issuing an opinion. All right, page 2. All right, so these are our opinion paragraphs, and this is kind of an anomaly issue that we're having to deal with this year. But you're going to see there is an adverse opinion paragraph on page 2, and what that relates to is that the audit of the convention center is not complete. I don't really know the status of it, when it'll be complete, but we needed to go ahead and get this audit finished and completed. So really the only way to do that would be to leave that information out of the financial statements. And so they are, the city has, if you'll look on page 4, you'll see, there's several columns. You've got the primary government, that's the city of Natchez, and then off to the right, you've got the component units, which are the library and the convention center. For government-wide purposes, GAAP requires that any component units be included with the financial statements. And so since that audit has not been completed, they couldn't be included in here. So we had to have a modified or adverse opinion specifically on the discreetly presented component units. So that's those first 2 paragraphs there at the top. The next paragraph, these are our unmodified opinions. So this pertains to everything else in the financial statements, the government-wide financials, the individual funds, the waterworks portion, the proprietary fund. So all the other parts of the audit are an unmodified or unqualified clean audit opinion.
I think the question we're going to ask is, has communication been made with the convention center with regard to their audit? The Gillen Group, they do the audit, and all I know is that it's not ready. Because this is the first I've heard about that.
Right. Well, I mean, they send it to us and we just pop it into the financial statements.
Yeah.
So, we just learned about 2 weeks ago that it wasn't ready.
Oh, really?
But, you say they say adverse opinion, that sounds kind of bad, but this is really for bigger governments, particularly bigger governments that have a lot of component units. It's not that uncommon for that to happen.
I see.
So it's not really that big of a deal, I don't think.
Okay. But we will definitely reach out to them, make sure we get that in as soon as possible.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, so page 4, page 4 and 5, this is the statement of net position, and then the statement of activities. So these are what I said earlier, these are government-wide financial statements. So this is everything, in the city of Natchez. This is the general fund, all the funds, all the debt service funds, all the capital projects funds. You'll see there's a column there, business-type activities, that's going to be the waterworks. So these are, when I say government-wide, these are full accrual GAAP financial statements. So they include, all the assets of the city, all the liabilities, all the debt, pension liability, everything are factored into these financial statements. And just kind of, for comparison purposes, 2019 to 2020, net position increased from 63 million to right at 67 million. Next page, statement of activities. This is the income statement. This just shows, revenues, expenses, government-wide again, like I said. And if you'll look there, you'll see the actual, what your actual change in net position was for the year, which was right at 3.2 million. Probably one big change I would note would be that, at the end of 2020, the city transferred the visitor center to the National Park Service. I believe in June, July of 2020. So that's factored into there. You'll see it's about $2.5 million of assets that are coming off the city's books there in relation to that transfer. Next page, I'm going to go to page 6. These are the what we call the governmental fund financial statements. These are not what we call full accrual. There's not going to be any kind of no debt liabilities, no assets. Basically, everything only things are on here are very liquid assets, cash, receivables, that kind of thing that are going to be available to the city in the near future. Let's see. All right, page 8. This is the statement of revenues, expenditures, changes in fund balance. Same thing. I just talked about the balance sheet side of that is there assets that are readily available to the city. So this is the income statement side of that. So this is going to show all incoming. It even includes loan proceeds, transfers, and things like that. It's just a detail of all your major funds. And then you'll look over to the right, you'll see an aggregate non-major governmental funds. There's, I'm sure you're aware, there's probably 20 or 30 special revenue funds, capital projects funds. So all of those that are not major funds are gonna flow all into this aggregate column over here, and you get a total for all your governmental funds over at the right. Let's see. So that's the high points on the financial statements. Let's see. I'm gonna skip to the notes. I'm not gonna hit a whole lot with the notes. Just trying to go quick and just kind of hit the high points. If you want to look through that, if you ever have any questions about anything, just get up with me. But other than that, I'm just gonna press on to the back, and mainly I'm going to hit on the internal control reports and our findings, our audit findings. You'll see there's two internal control reports in the very back. We issue two of them. One of them both are required by governmental accounting standards. So when we're planning the audit, when we're doing the audit, we're kind of getting an assessment of your internal control process. But
What page are you on, Mr.?
Let's see. This would be page. Let's see. Page 84. We'll be starting on page 84.
Okay.
This is internal control over financial reporting, and then internal control over compliance with your federal programs. So, when we're planning an audit, we're looking at your internal control processes, just looking for deficiencies, looking for weaknesses. We don't actually issue an opinion on the effectiveness of your internal controls, but if we see something that is a potential weakness, we're required by government accounting standards, governmental auditing standards, to report those to you. And so you'll see we have. I believe we have 8 findings that I need to go over. A good many of these have been findings in the past. Starting on page 90, first finding relates to the bank reconciliations. I'm sure you're all familiar that for a good while there's been a problem with getting bank reconciliations done accurately and timely. And while that process was significantly better this year, all of the bank, most of them were reconciled by the city staff. It was still, it was a good ways after the end of the fiscal year that we got them and that we could start the audit. So, just on a, that's a very basic, very basic fundamental control is to have all your bank accounts tied down, reconciled on a monthly basis. I know that it's, when you kind of get behind, it can be difficult to get caught up, but, staying caught up on that is a very, very critical thing for a lot of reasons. And I'll get into that, a little bit more of that later on. Finding two, accounting records, and just recording of transactions. This is something, and again, this is something that wasn't as bad as it has been in the past. But it has, it's gotten better, but it's still to the point where we need to report it. Is that, there's a good many transactions that are not being recorded either timely or at all, and that, that we're having to, propose audit adjustments for. Finding three, interfund transfers, interfund activity. This has been an issue, for a good while now. There's, at some point, there's a lot of the funds, they need cash, and they may not necessarily have cash to meet, certain expenditures that have to be paid right then. So the short-term solution for that is to, do some kind of a transfer, some kind of a loan or an advance from another fund that has excess cash. And so, the problem with that in the past has been that, maybe they weren't approved properly, or maybe the intent of the, whether it was supposed to be a transfer, if it was supposed to be a loan, or if it was supposed to be an advance, because the accounting treatment is different for all of them. So that's something that that's been a problem, continuing for, as long as I've been associated with this audit. Page 4, finding number 4, page 92. This is just a segregation of duties. This is, something that's pretty common for smaller governments like this, and it just pertains that to, you just have limited staff. It's not always possible for, ideally you have, different people, who can sign checks, who can approve checks, and who are reconciling bank accounts. But in some cases, sometimes it's, it's some of the same person, or the same, maybe the same, a couple of people. That's just a problem of smaller governments. That's not something that's unique to the city of Natchez. Finding 5, this relates to the general fund expenditures, over budget for 9/30/20, and this was actually over budget right about $414,000. So your amended budget that you approved in September of 2020, when all the audit adjustments were made, and adjustments, and transactions that were recorded by the city after that point, when the budget amendment was approved. That's where it's coming from. It's causing the budget. Your budget issues is that you don't have all your transactions recorded when you're amending the budget. So you're ultimately always going to have an issue with this. Until like I talked about with the bank recs earlier. Until the bank rec issue is fixed, there's a pretty good chance you're always going to have a budget finding like this.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Alderman Dillard.
I want to try to get my head around this, and I do take serious the reconciliation, transfers in, the transfers out, the interloans back and forth. But just so that I'm clear in understanding, is that for the fiscal year ending September 30, 2020, this is what
That's correct. Yes.
The the city had exceeded its general fund expenditures by $414,851.
Well, the expenditures, in excess of your amended budget that you made in September of 2020. So you'd make an original budget, I guess, in September of 19, and then you'll basically just amend the actual in September of 2020. So when you do that, it's just what your amended budget is, basically whatever your books show at that point. And so if you're, if all your transactions aren't there, if all your accounts aren't reconciled, there's some expenses out there that you haven't been, that aren't included in the budget amendment.
Okay, so I'm still trying to catch up. So we're getting to the end of this fiscal year, and we're still trying to amend and reconcile the expenditures and revenues and all the things that went on during this fiscal year.
Correct.
Is this the same scenario here
I
where?
mean, it just, I don't know. It just depends on the, on the status of the books right now.
Well, it
I don't-
happened I'm trying to understand, so that we got to the end of the year, we finally got to reconcile, or as close as they could, to amend it, and in response to that, the budget for the general fund was exceeded by $414,851, correct?
Right, because, you're amending the budget there in September of 2020. And
But you don't know that we don't, this governing body doesn't know that we exceeded the budget, because it's not until we get to the end and that they finally do the reconciling and the
Yes.
amendments.
Yeah, all that's not, that wasn't really probably complete until probably May, June,
October.
July of this
year.
past year.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
So in other words, when we amended the budget last year, we were amending it based on the information we
Incomplete
had
numbers.
then,
Which was incomplete, that's correct.
but that information was incomplete.
That's right.
And so, so it meant that our amendment was off
That's
by
correct.
that amount.
That's correct.
Not that we didn't have the money, we had the money, we just hadn't,
You didn't have your, the amended budget that you ran in the paper.
Yeah.
That's what we go by,
the
so,
amended budget.
that's right.
We are going to have to address these reconciliations, because I know we discussed it this morning, that we are right now still challenged in getting these reconciliations up to date. But in defense of the city clerk, we have had to do 3 audits in 1 year. And we have had to, it's been a chore.
Right.
Um,
I understand.
It has been a chore to get to this place.
Yeah, and like I said, until you get the bank reconciliation issue resolved, I think this kind of a finding is probably gonna be,
Yeah.
it's gonna be an issue, I think.
I think, Mr. Mayor, one point I would like to make, and I certainly agree, I think this present city clerk staff has done just a tremendous job getting here.
Yeah.
But if you listen to what I think he's telling us, is that it's kind of like, if you're not doing your homework along the way, you're always gonna have to pay this price at the end.
That's right.
The root of the problem is not doing the monthly reconciling these general ledgers to the bank statements. So even if you've paid to get 3 audits done in 1 year, if you continue this behavior, you're going to end up with the same result. And it's going to happen again, and it's going to happen again. So the monthly reconciling is, I call it your homework. If you keep up with your homework, you will get to the end of the year and you won't have to write 3 term papers all at once.
That's exactly right. Alderwoman Smith?
Well, I think notoriously we they've been put off because they've been catching up on that. And I know Alderman Diller and I have often said, should we outsource the ones current so that we don't get in that? If you're playing catch up on the other things, and I know y'all want to keep it internal and not do that, but we're gonna have to make a motion to have them in our packets every month going forward. I know there's gotta be catch up now, but we're gonna have to do that.
We've got to.
So that we don't get in this shape again. And I know we're not ready to make that motion yet because we're gonna have to get them caught up. And then we can, from then on, but it's gotta be done now. I don't think we can wait till the end of this fiscal year.
No, we can't. No, we
So
can't.
we'll have to figure that out in a finance meeting, for sure.
And I will say that we do have on the agenda for tonight, an amendment to the budget to get the current budget where it's supposed to be. We had that discussion today. We'll get into that later in the meeting. And our hope is that that will take care of, this going forward. Alderwoman Irving?
I just want to say our city clerk and her staff has done a great job with our budget. But I want to ask, is it possible that they create an index? And so from month to month, they sign off as they do the reconciliation of each fund. Is that possible to get done? It's just a suggestion.
We have one.
You have
We do,
one?
yes, ma'am. It's
So
on the J Drive.
they sign off who is doing and that should help with
Yeah,
that
they've
as
had it
well.
for years. Before I came, they have one.
Okay.
Okay, all right. But the overall budget obviously was in balance, but it's that general fund section.
That's
based
right.
on-
And I mean, it's just the state of Mississippi rules I mean, that's just how, like Louisiana's a little different. If it's only a finding if it's, a certain percentage from, from your amended budget.
Right.
And Mayor,
Yes,
I would like the public to know that for the previous two audits that were done for 18 and 19, they were reconciled partly by a company out of Memphis, and they was finished by Mr. Carr's company. And the 19 was reconciled by Mr. Carr's company. This current budget was reconciled solely in-house by our clerk and by our deputy city clerk. And I have asked to outsource some stuff. If I had to outsource something, it wouldn't be my financial, it would have been those minutes I asked. That's so tedious. So if I could outsource the smaller stuff that will give us more time to reconcile, because she did reconcile those big counts that Mr. Diller always fussing about. It was reconciled in-house by my staff. So the
Well,
work can be done inside, but when you got me doing
I
reconciling.
believe we need to.
And I did try to outsource the minutes one time, you remember? And I
we
haven't
need
asked
to
it for
look-
help, so.
We need to look at your staffing and see if you
Yeah,
need more help.
it can be done
in-house.
in-house,
We need to
but if you
look
want
at
to outsource
that.
something, outsource those minutes.
Yeah, the only problem I have with trying to outsource it is that, just like when we get these claims dockets, and
Right.
if you don't have an innate or understanding of which funds they're talking about and what's actually occurring, it's really difficult.
Yeah.
I mean, you're right, and you're being generous by saying the firm from Memphis reconciled. They didn't reconcile anything.
He finished it, I said he finished it, I did say that.
Mr. Hammond
When it
finished.
was done by
Mr.
my
Hammond's
staff.
finished.
That's why I said Carr finished, I did. I did
We've
say
had
it.
that discussion, right, exactly, but I'm for that and for getting you the resources that we need. But again, this has plagued the city since I've been on this board, and there's something about reconciling the bank statements to the general fund. It must be something that is god-awful because no one seems to want to do it. And the problem that I'm hearing is that this governing board will be making decisions, and in this case, we were off by $414,000 in expenditures that, we didn't know. Now, one more question, real quick, and I'll let you get back to your.
Okay.
On page 89, what am I looking at on page 89? The status of the prior year, okay.
Yes, so these were the findings, same findings that I've been going over. This is what we had last year.
And if, for example, if I look down at your finding 7, the city's general fund expenditures exceeded its budget about $1,015,700.
That was last year, same thing.
And
Right, this-
what I'm trying to get is if we can get at the root of the problem, which I think he's given us the answer, we have to apply it, and is that to do that month-to-month business.
Correct.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
That, a very good discussion, I'm glad we're having it. But just to clarify, when we talk about accounting firms, I want it very clear that Silas Simmons has done the work of catching up. And when we talk about a firm, we're referring to a former firm that did not follow through and is no longer in the employee of the city of Natchez. I just want to make sure. And they were an out-of-town firm.
But, Mr. Mayor, my whole point was that it was done in-house by my deputy this year for this current
Oh,
audit.
yes,
That's all,
we
that was my whole point.
understand
The other, forget the rest of the stuff. Just know it was done in-house by the city clerk's office, by my deputy clerk, for this current audit.
Yeah.
That was the point.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes,
I would just
Alderwoman
like to
Hall.
add that, in addition to what you said, this administration has done 3 audits in 1 year. And that says a lot for this staff and for the city clerk's
Yeah,
staff.
it does.
3 audits in 1 year is not
We are doing
that's
our
a lot of
best.
work.
Thank you. Thank you, Alderwoman.
There was also a dollar sign that went with that, getting it all three done in one year.
Oh, my goodness, in excess of, and to imagine that we are in the black, considering this year, everything we spent, and I believe we've spent over $150,000 on these, on the fact, these audits are not cheap.
Yes, ma'am, and you need
Mr.
to
Wallace
re-up
Collins
here.
has played a good part.
Yes, Alderwoman Smith?
Since we've pretty much made it clear here, we gotta outsource something, whether it be the minutes or the financial reconciliations to catch up. So in our code, can our minutes be outsourced? I know it specifies, to whom should do the work.
The city clerk has to be ultimately responsible for the minutes. Now, I don't know why that can't be outsourced, but she has to accept the responsibility for the
Maybe we can get more
accuracy.
We'll look into
We can
that.
get more staff.
We'll look into that. Mr. Hammond, we're gonna let you wrap
Okay.
up.
All right, I've got
I
just
think we're almost to the end.
two more findings, and I'll be out of y'all's way. Let's see, this is on page 93. This is the sixth finding. This is relating to documentation of adjusting journal entries. This was, and I'm sure it had a lot to do with, trying to get caught up and trying to, get through this as quickly as we could, but there were a lot of transactions that did not have a good description in the general ledger. So, it just, it's good to be able to see, when you're looking at something on the ledger, it's good to be able to see, just a brief description of what something might relate to. And further to that, we've recommended that you, put in place a more, an official process for approving, recording, and documenting journal entries. So that's what that finding is about.
That's what I was referring to.
And then last finding, this is relating to, and I don't know if this was a mistake or if this was just needing another fund needing cash, but there was money taken out of one of the TIF fund accounts, debt service funds, out of the convention center construction, hotel construction, that TIF bond fund. About $75,000 was taken out of that fund and used to pay an interest on the convention center bonds at the city. So it needed to come out of the other debt service fund. It did not need to come out of that TIF bond fund account, and it needs to be paid back as quickly as y'all can get it back in there.
Okay.
And it has, Ms. Cole, we talked about that.
Right.
Yes, so we've done it.
Okay. All right. We've had a lot of discussion. Questions? Are there further questions? I think ultimately we see what we've got to do, but we don't need to lose sight of the fact of how far we've come.
Agreed.
Wish we had had your firm helping with this 2 years ago.
With
Just-
reconciliation.
With reconciliations also. But what I mean is, this year, with these 3 audits, you performed a great service to the city, and we appreciate it,
Well,
Mr.
we
Hammond.
appreciate being able to do it.
And we're glad that we're working with a local firm. It means all the difference. Any
That's all I have.
Any further discussion?
Thank you, Mr. Carr.
Thank y'all.
Thank you, Mr. Hammond.
At this time, we will entertain a motion to
Mr.
accept
Mayor,
the audit. Yes?
I would like to
Yes.
thank Carl, 'cause we did work really closely together on this audit. So thank you, Carl, really
Yes, ma'am.
appreciate you, your
We
your
appreciate
expertise,
y'all
your professionalism.
helping.
I wanna thank, Wallace, of course.
Oh, yeah.
I wanna
Wallace
thank
is
my
a big
deputy
help.
clerks of interest. I wanna thank, Tiffany Howell, who's my accounts, payable. Rebecca Turner is my accounts receivable, and Consuela, Cade is my personnel, but she did 941s on all our personnel stuff. So I wanna thank my staff for all the work they did to make this happen, and Carl, thank you again.
Yes, ma'am. Thank y'all.
Thank you. Thank you so much. At this time, I will entertain a motion to accept the audit.
So moved.
Motion made by Alderman Dillard, seconded by Alderman Davis. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, I'll call for question.
Called.
We'll proceed now to a vote. We'll roll call the vote. Alderwoman Hall,
aye.
Alderman Frazier, Alderwoman Smith,
Aye.
Alderwoman Irving,
Aye.
Alderman Davis, Alderman Dillard.
Aye.
The ayes have it, motion carries. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Board.
The next item of business, we have Mr. Carter Burns here. Mr. Burns, thank you for being here. As you know, the city is now receiving back a building that is located at Duncan Park behind Auburn, the old dairy and the canteen that has been controlled and owned by the Junior Auxiliary for the last number of years and is now being given back to the city. We understand that now presents an opportunity for us. Mr. Burns, and what opportunity is that?
Well, I'm Carter Burns, Executive Director of Historic Natchez Foundation, and several months ago I met with the mayor to talk about the outbuildings at Auburn, there at Duncan Park, the historic buildings, and we were discussing the recreation bond bill and getting money to fix up buildings in the park. And we started talking about the Community Heritage Preservation Grant Program, which is administered by the Department of Archives and History. The city has gotten grant funding through this program several times, most recently for the new hall at new roof at City Hall, and then also a grant for Auburn several years ago. So we decided to pursue grant funding through this program to do some work and restore the billiard hall at Auburn, the pavilion that's right there at the playground, and then also knowing that y'all were going to be getting this canteen building, which part of it is the historic dairy building behind Auburn, back as well. And since we've been out on the site inspecting the buildings, we also want to include a request for funding to repair the front columns at Auburn as well, because they're in pretty rough shape. So we've been working on that, and we've gotten our grant proposal together. And so tonight I'm here to ask for a motion to proceed with this grant application for a project total that would be up to $300,000. So it's an 80-20 split on the grant. So the city's portion would be 20% of the cost, which would be $60,000 for the $300,000 total cost on the project. And we're working on finalizing our budget right now. So that's why I asked for up to
I have a
$300,000.
motion made by Alderwoman Smith to proceed.
Second?
Seconded by Alderwoman Hall. Discussion on the motion?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Alderman Dillard.
I'm really excited about this, and I know sometimes you don't control the timing of it, but we've just adopted our budget going forward into this new fiscal year. And if it had been a perfect world, this appropriation request or matching request would have come, maybe a month or a couple of months ago. Do you see it would be the same if someone came to the foundation and requested expenditures on your part after you've adopted your budget, and you already pulled your hair out trying to make that work, and now they want to pull the rest of your hair out to find that. That's the only concern I have, Mr. Mayor. I certainly think it's a worthy project.
Yes.
And I would support it, but we're already off to a good spending start in this fiscal year, Mr. Mayor.
We are. I will share, though, some good news. We just got the report on sales tax, and this deserves a round of applause. Now, for the 5th month in a row, we have surpassed $500,000 in sales tax collections. Give us a hand on that. That's historic. It was historic when we hit 2 months in a row, then 3 months, then 4 months. We just hit 5 months. In addition to that, I will say we are looking at a budget surplus for this year of close to $100,000 in the general fund, and overall over $900,000 when you look at the bottom line budget. We're doing well. It's not guaranteed we would get these funds. The other thing we have found is once you apply for the grant, it takes a while to get approved. And I will provide case in point. Last year, we budgeted for our co-payment for a grant application for a new roof at City Hall. By the time we got the grant, by the time we went through all the process, even though we budgeted for that amount during this budget year, which ends in 2 days, we haven't started the project because it's taken that long. So there's a very good probability that the same thing will apply here. We'll get the grant. Yes, we could get awarded the grant in the spring of 2022, but we may not actually expend these funds until the fall or later of 2022. So there will be time for that co-payment to be identified, just for clarification purposes.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Alderman Frazier?
I need to, ask a question. You said that we're getting the grant, but to do those columns and stuff over,
We'd like to include that in the grant application, yes.
I would like to, ask this board, about a year or two ago, did we, appropriate some money to redo those columns over? If I'm not mistaken, was they, under the present mayor, I think we spent some money to redo those columns over, and they're done deteriorated again.
I don't know when the last time any work was done on them, but they're in bad shape now.
I have been told it was about 5 years ago, and that there is a problem with leakage from the upper gallery.
It's
that
a
has
moisture
been-
problem.
And we were out there last week looking at it,
I
yeah.
don't think it was, no, I don't think it was 5 years ago, no, sir.
Really, I'm just going on what I was told.
No, it's been less than that. It ain't been no more than about 2 years that we spent a lot of money to redo that. But if we can get a grant to do it over, that's fine. Maybe that might alleviate that problem out there, but as I say, the city has already spent a tremendous amount of money out there. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Any further questions, discussion? We will call for the question.
Called.
Second.
Question has been called. We'll proceed to a vote. All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you, Coroner. We will now, so that this wonderful lady who serves our community won't have to stay here all night, I'm going to ask Ms. Shirley Brown if she would come to the podium. This is actually under the mayor's section, and we are revisiting a discussion we've had in the past about a tobacco-free ordinance for the city of Natchez. We very much want to get this done. All we're asking for tonight is approval to schedule a public hearing.
Yes.
And we do have a draft ordinance that has been prepared and revised by the city attorney. We're going to get that to everyone. I just got my copy today. That draft ordinance is what will be the subject of discussion at our public hearing once we schedule it. But Ms. Brown, you had more information for us?
Well, I may need to get together with Attorney Callaway another day to see if anything else needs to be added or changed to that sample ordinance. But I just wanted to let you guys know that I put in front of you a letter of support from Representative Robert L. Johnson. He represents the 94th District of Adams, Franklin, and Jefferson County. And I'm not going to read it to you because you have it there in front of you. And he's supporting your decision to have a smoke-free ordinance here in Natchez, and also from Representative Jeffrey Harness. And the other information that you have is just, I think I've given this to you before, but this is some of the benefits of having a tobacco and electronic smoke-free cigarette community. So, but if you have any questions about anything, I'm here. We're trying to get this done because I am so happy that you are even entertaining the idea of a healthy Natchez.
I thank you very much. Alderwoman Smith?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to request that we get the ordinance before the public hearing, at least a week or so we can have, if we want to edit anything or suggest or
Mr.
whatever.
Callaway, is this the ordinance with your edits here that I received today?
No,
This was,
that's
this is
the,
not yours, this is from Ms. Brown?
that's the copy of the ordinance that I sent to Attorney
I
Callaway.
am so sorry, then I
Yes.
misunderstood. It
Yes.
has been amended to apply to Natchez. However,
Yes.
we've got to get our city attorney to put his stamp on it and make sure, okay, that we
Yes.
distribute that.
Yes,
And
and
as Alderwoman Smith said, we do need to have that before we have a public hearing.
Yes.
Alderwoman Irving.
I just want to say also to advertise for the public hearing, that we do that in advance with the newspaper and all different forms of media
Okay.
that we will use in our Bluff City Post, and so that the general public, because
Okay.
I received a lot of calls in reference to it.
Okay.
So let's make sure
And I
that-
think what people need to realize is that we're not saying that you can't smoke in your home or wherever. We're just saying in public places and workplaces, we don't want individuals to be exposed to secondhand smoke.
I
Or we
understand.
want individuals to go and work and don't have to be exposed to secondhand smoke. We're not saying that, we don't want you to now, but we're not saying that this is what this ordinance is trying to do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think more or less they want to voice their opinion.
Yes.
They
that's
want to be
fine.
heard.
Yes.
And that's the reason why I'm asking,
Okay.
for the
Okay.
public hearing to be well advertised, so that you can get the
Okay.
support of the community to come in.
Yes, okay.
And they know in advance that we're
Okay.
having it.
All righty. As soon as I can get an appointment with your city attorney and we can get that language all set up, just let me know.
Sure.
Okay.
All right, I really
Alrighty.
appreciate that, Ms.
Okay.
Brown. Any other questions for Ms. Shirley Brown? We will entertain a motion to set the public hearing. Is there a particular date that we should, do we want to set this for our next board meeting, or?
She said she needs to get with the attorney first.
She does,
You gotta advertise, you gotta.
and we have to advertise it and
We
all.
need to have the,
I think, but I think we could go ahead and, so we know we have the date coming and we get the advertisements going.
not that soon.
No?
Nope.
Y'all, the reason I say this, do you realize how many times we've discussed this? And we keep hunting?
Well, no,
But
We've
we
gotta
need
get
to
this
see
done.
we
the
approved it.
actual.
We're just waiting on.
I know.
That's what
know.
we need, the actual,
Exactly.
All right, let me ask
Okay,
this.
okay, now
Mrs.
you
Callaway,
you
could
guys-
we
you guys
the
have-
actual by our
excuse
next
me.
meeting? Could
We can have a draft, for sure.
We could have a draft.
The only
okay.
thing that for the board and for Ms. Shirley is businesses have expressed some exceptions they would like made to it. So that's one thing that needs to be discussed.
absolutely. And that's
Okay.
why it's so important that they
I
know in
will,
advance to-
I have
to
one
come to the
question.
vote.
Yes,
while we're here.
Alderman
Is it-
Dillard?
I mean, just curious, reading through this, it prohibits the possession and
We
use,
don't
so
have to
they
put that
frisk
in
you
ours.
down if you got a skull can on you. I mean,
No,
what is possession then refer to?
is that for tobacco products? Is that for marijuana? Is that for,
An ordinance prohibits the possession and use of tobacco products by any individual in the city public areas. So the possession, I mean, just,
I mean, well, you-
just your
if you- I
attorney,
mean,
I'm just playing the
yeah.
devil's advocate here.
That's why it's
Well,
so important that we.
if possession is,
the ordinance.
once you,
We
once
will
I,
get together. This is
Okay.
Yeah.
just a
We will get
sample.
together.
I would
Yeah.
like to do this. I would like to entertain a motion to request our city attorney to draft an ordinance for us to consider at our next meeting, and then we will proceed at that time with the scheduling of a public hearing. Can I have that motion?
So moved.
Second.
All right, Alderwoman Hall has made the motion. I think I heard Alderman Dillard with the second. Any discussion on that motion? We will call for the question.
Call, second.
We will proceed to a vote. All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Motion carries.
all right, so as
All
soon
right.
as the attorney gets with me, we set a date so we can talk about that.
Next
And
week.
this sample ordinance is the same ordinance as all the state of Mississippi, everybody's approving the same ordinance. So, but you guys are welcome to take out whatever doesn't work for you.
Thank you.
All right, thank
I
you.
really appreciate Ms. Brown.
All right,
We're
thank
gonna
you.
get there.
Thank you.
We are. All right. The next item we have on our agenda, I'm looking around to be sure we don't have folks just hanging around. We don't want people having to wait up here all night. I think we've gotten ready now to proceed to our department directors' reports. Ms. Bartley, we're going to recognize you, the Natchez Senior Center,
Excuse me.
and also our Natchez Transit System. Ms. Bartley, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Attorney. Good evening to everyone.
Hello.
Okay, on the agenda, I think we're starting with the Natchez Senior Center. A couple of months ago, in January of 2020, I came before the board to ask you to allow me to apply to the Mississippi Department of Transportation for three different grants, funding items. And I was given that, so I submitted the application. We have received we were approved to receive the funds, and from that, one of them is for elderly transportation. These transportation services specifically target older persons and persons with disabilities first, to allow them transportation where they need to go. The contract is called a 5310, Enhanced Mobility of Seniors and Individuals with Disabilities Public Transportation Program. I have before you a request that we would allow the mayor, the city attorney, and the executive director to sign these grant contract for the 21-22 year following the review of our city attorney. So basically, I'm asking that we can, receive this money.
Second.
A motion made by Alderman Davis, seconded by Alderwoman Irving. Discussion on the motion. We'll call for the question.
Called.
We'll proceed to a vote. All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Motion carries.
Okay.
Next item, Ms. Barr.
Under the senior center, in the form of an announcement, we have received notification. I think, Mayor, it has come to your office in the form of a notice to proceed from Southwest Planning and Development District. We requested funding for these services, which include home-delivered meals, congregate meals, those are the meals that are served on site, adult daycare, senior center-based activities, and senior transportation. It's another component and another funding source. We've received information to proceed. Because these grants start on October 1, they have not received yet the contract from the state, but we have been approved to move forward with that. So what I would like to request of you is that this board would allow the mayor and everyone who's required to sign those documents when they come in, because they might be in the middle of between your board meetings. Just allow me to submit those to Mr. Callaway, and upon his recommendation that we could go on and get that contract signed as well.
Motion made by Alderwoman Smith and seconded by Alderman Davis. I'm just trying to go as I hear them. Discussion on the motion? We will call for the question.
Called.
Second.
We'll proceed to the vote. All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Motion carries.
Thank you. The Natchez Senior Center has been in operation for more than 45 years. And for that, we've gone through a couple of generations now of assisting individuals through these particular activities. I'm so thankful that you have again allowed us to continue to serve our community, the senior community in particular, with these particular grants. Now I'd like to move to the Natchez Transit System. Along those same lines, as you are aware, the Natchez Transit System operating funds are derived from the Mississippi Department of Transportation. That includes all of the employees, all of the cost of of everything that happens comes through these particular grants. And with the Natchez Senior Center and Natchez Transit System, with both of them, although we are a part of the city, we are extremely excited and grateful and blessed that we have been able to secure funding and not drain onto the general fund of the city for each year. So in this particular request, I've received also the contract, and to the city clerk, I will send you those official names and the copies for the minutes. This particular program is titled the 5311 Rural Transportation Assistance Program. And these particular funds do not target elderly and disabled. They target those individuals who are going to work, who are going to school, those individuals who are within our community who use transportation for tourism and whatever they may be. These particular funds target those individuals. So we are not an elderly and disabled transportation program. We are a rural transportation program that serves all segments of the population, and in particular in our area. This particular contract will take care of our operations, our administration, and our capital for the year 2021 through 2022. And we are extremely grateful for that. So my request to you tonight is, again, once they have been fully reviewed by Attorney Brian Calloway, that the mayor, myself, city clerk, be allowed to assign the appropriate documents so that we may receive those funds. Those funds may be received on our behalf by you.
So moved.
Motion made by Alderwoman Hall, seconded by Alderwoman Irving. Discussion on the motion? We will call for the question.
Second.
We'll proceed to a vote. All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The ayes have it, motion carries.
I want to thank you that this is my 21st year. It's my 22nd year receiving these funds.
Awesome.
And
Wow.
we have been so grateful to put more than $30 million into this community through transportation by the hiring of folks and making certain that people have what they need. And it's because of you and this board that we are able to do that. Thank you so much for your continued support, and we endeavor every day to do a great job connecting people to everyday life.
Ms. Bartley, it's because of your vision and your leadership.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Tremendous.
$30 million.
And underscores the importance of keeping our audits timely from thence forward. We came close to losing a significant amount of that funding last year. And we can never see that happen again in the city of Natchez. Mr. Johnson, you're next.
Evening, Mayor and Board. I gave y'all a draft copy of my report the other day. Only one change from it. 2020 Brownfields Conference, Oklahoma City. Staff is requesting permission to attend the upcoming 2021 conference to be held in Oklahoma City, December 8th through December the 11th, with the cost attending being paid for our grant.
Motion?
So moved.
Motion made by Alderwoman Irving, seconded by Alderwoman Hall. Any discussion on the motion?
Yes.
Yes, Alderman Frazier.
Shane, who going with you?
Me, myself, and I.
Taking the whole department with you?
I am, and then some.
Any other discussion? Any other questions?
Call the question.
We'll call for the question. Call. Okay, we'll proceed to a vote. All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The ayes have it, motion carries.
I'm going to skip over the next activity, that being the North Natchez drainage. The anticipated invoice did not come, so we'll probably have a double up next time. construction of additional tennis courts at Duncan Park. That is a new item added today. Staff is requesting a motion to approve a professional services agreement with A&M Engineering, LLC, that's David Atkins and Jared M., for engineering services for the proposed construction of up to 4 additional tennis courts at Duncan Park. The PSA is for $52,500, and the construction budget is for $350,000. Approval of the contract is subject to the review of the city attorney.
So moved.
Second. Alderwoman Hall has made the motion, seconded by Alderman Dillard. Discussion on the motion. That is part of our recreation renewal program. It is in the bond, and I'm so glad we are moving forward. I want to say we're moving forward with a lot of items. We already have had a meeting with the architect on North Natchez, architect on the golf clubhouse. Ms. Sonora Cole and I this evening discussed the playground equipment and other things. It's a new day in Natchez. We're moving forward. Alderwoman Irving.
I just wanted to ask, are the engineering firms local?
Mr. Atkins is local. He was a longtime employee of the city of Natchez, 27-plus years. Then prior to that, 25-plus years with a local engineering firm. This is the same firm that we're working with on the Commerce Street MDOT application, which was submitted last Monday and due at 5 o'clock today.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Is that David?
Yes.
Is that David?
Yes, sir.
The question's been called?
Second.
Second? All right. We'll proceed to a vote. All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Also, I want to tell you, we are working also on the proposals. Mr. Rudder's been helping us for repairs to bathrooms. We hope to have that going. We also met with the new landscape company last week, Mr. David Jenkins. Expect his contract begins October 1. Expect a lot of pruning over the next couple months at city parks. He is going to make a great, there will be a great impact at all 6 of our parks. And we discussed each one in detail, and he has already met on site at North Natchez Park with Sonora Cole. Yes, Ms.
I just wanted to ask, with public properties meeting with the contractors, are any of those local? Are they local contractors, or have they did a bid yet?
We have not gotten to the bid process yet.
Okay, okay,
Just the
Then I'm
professional
jumping the gun.
services right
Okay.
now, architects and engineers.
okay.
All right. But it will be encouraged that we use, that we have as much local participation as possible.
Absolutely.
We are also encouraging minority participation as
Thank
well.
you, thank you.
Any further discussion or questions? We'll move on. Mr. Gianni.
Good evening, Mayor and Board.
Good evening.
I have 2 items, one ordinance revision and one new ordinance as a replacement. The first, I believe, is the first that I have on my slide is the revision of the existing historic district design ordinance for signs. The revised historic sign ordinance was put together by then interim downtown director Phil Walker with the help of Mr. Walker's staff, the Historic Natchez Foundation, and the Preservation Commission. The proposed ordinance revision was shaped to best fit the local historic districts of Natchez. The revised sign ordinance for the historic district was approved by the Preservation Commission at their last meeting on September 8th, 2021 for final adoption by the Mayor and Board of Aldermen. This approval was contingent on the residential signs section reflecting the existing signs standards for the bed and breakfast properties, and that edit is included in your packet.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Alderwoman Smith.
Would you repeat that again?
It was the residential sign sections reflecting the same as what is allowed for bed and breakfasts. So there's consistency all throughout for residential properties.
One of the questions I had with the, when I was reading through it with the bed and breakfast, do they have to be registered? Does any bed and breakfast?
Absolutely, every
Okay.
single one.
Is there any size minimum, or does that matter? I'm just
So, like
curious.
in rooms, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay, so we classify a bed and breakfast residence as 5 or less units and a bed and breakfast inn as 6 or more. And of course, in the many regulations in our ordinance, we require on-site parking spaces for those units, and then for the resident manager and that sort of stuff.
And one last little quick thing, just for future reference, would you please highlight in yellow when there's changes? It makes it easier.
Oh, yes,
That's
yeah.
helpful. Thank
It's
you.
just the very last, it's the
no
very
worries.
last
I
page.
appreciate it.
Yeah.
Looks good to me.
Mr. Mayor?
These are the
Alderman Frazier?
These are the freestanding signs, the small ones for the bed and breakfast.
Mm-hmm. And those are those kind of sign standards are on the very last page of this ordinance. Yeah.
The freestanding ones.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Alderman Dillard?
I kind of like Alderwoman Smith. I'm a little bit confused. Is this whole packet, the only revision is the last page?
No, like the entire, our historic district, our existing sign standards for the historic district it's all words, no pictures, basically, and it's kind of in a weird order. So this is a complete revision and overhaul.
Well, I mean, that's what I'm getting to, because when I read this first, that we're talking about revisions are going to be something different than what was.
Right.
And I'll have to agree with Alderman Smith. If these were, say, contractual drawings or legal documents, I would get a document and it would strike out the lines that are removed, and it would highlight the lines that are inserted. So what I'm asking is that just this last page, or is this whole
It's the whole.
sign
It's the whole.
standards being replaced?
If I could
I would say
interject a minute.
replaced. I would say replaced.
Update.
Yeah.
If I could interject just a minute to continue the discussion, I would like to entertain a motion.
So moved.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I move to approve and adopt the revised sign ordinance for the historic district.
Okay, well, I've had a motion by Alderman Hall, a second by Alderwoman Irving, because I know Alderwoman Hall, you've been chairing the committee on, the ordinance committee. It's my understanding that most of this is cosmetic to make it more friendly, more user-friendly. But there have been some changes. Perhaps, is it possible that you could highlight those changes as far as right now? Or is it something we need to come back?
That might take some time. I don't think I can. That might take a little
Because I
too much
understand
time.
the questions that are being raised. They would like to, I think, know what is different.
Yeah. I mean,
Right.
putting them side by side would be difficult because the first one is it's like drab and it goes on and on. And it's kind of hard to put. Anyways, but yeah, I mean, I can.
I mean, Mr. Mayor,
Mr.
Try
Mayor,
to do a
Mr. Mayor,
comparison.
the fact that the preservation,
Yes, Alderwoman Hall.
I think a significant sign to this is that the Preservation Commission has approved this. And if it wasn't appropriate, they would not have approved it.
But I understand. Yeah, I understand that wanting to see the old versus the new and seeing the difference. So if you want to table this, I can
think we need to
show.
table it.
I can show you the existing one. It might put you to sleep.
I
but
think we need to table it.
yeah.
I think all
Okay.
we really need is if you would take the existing one, just go through here and just highlight anything that's different.
That's gonna
I
be
know
a lot,
the whole
so.
thing looks different, but if for instance in the
it's
old
more than
one,
just the pictures, Mr. Mayor.
That's right, it's more than that.
I mean, like for example, like the object signs that are listed in this copy are not present in the old copy, and that's the type of modernization. Like a tea shop has a little tea kettle out front. That's kind of what. Those are the difference, and I can do my best and try to highlight those differences at the
Alderwoman
next
Smith.
meeting.
Well, I think we can all have an opportunity to run by there and review it with him in his office. I mean, because we can do that after this and approve at the next meeting, but he's updated and made it way better. I
It's
promise y'all.
great. It looks
It's really
great.
good. But I
And,
get that we
but-
want to see
yeah.
the difference. Signs
I-
can make
I-
people crazy. We've seen that before.
And my reason for asking, Mr. Mayor, I just wanted to ask a question. Will we replace one of the historical signs that was down on Washington Street? It's been, removed to an accident, due to an incident that took place. about a year and a half ago, and it's still not there, hadn't been replaced.
What kind of sign is it?
It was recognizing the home, the historic house that's right down.
Okay,
I'll give
like
you
a
these.
like a trail marker or something, or like one of
Yes.
those large ones.
Yes, it was. It
Okay.
was large.
Okay.
All right.
So I'll give you the address, the physical address.
Okay. I
I'm
appreciate that.
sensing there is a desire to table this.
Okay.
So I will entertain a motion to table.
So moved.
Motion by Alderwoman Irving, seconded by Alderman Davis. Any discussion on the motion? We will call for the question. We will now proceed to a vote. All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The ayes have it, motion carries. So, Alderman, just do your best to get with Mr. Gianni between now and next meeting, and we'll make sure we get this passed at the next meeting. All right? It'll give you time to familiarize yourself with it. I think you will find it's a very, very good sign ordinance that will move us forward. And I'll say the importance of doing things like this. Met with a developer today who's done work in various parts of the state, and he actually made the comment that the ease of working with Natchez is a big part of why we're having such success with our growth, because he's only found one other city so easy to work with, and that was the city of Ridgeland back in the day, as he put it.
Mr. Mayor.
Wow.
So that says a lot for Natchez. Yes, Alderwoman
I
Smith.
do want to thank Mr. Gianni, because when I was first elected, which is now, I'm on the 10th year, but that was not the case. That was when I ran my first term, all I heard was how difficult we were to do business with and open businesses and do, what you just said. So I thank you for doing things like this sign ordinance that make things less complicated and modern, more modern. So thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Gianni. You put a
Thank
lot
you.
of work into this.
Mr. Gianni, the next item.
All right. This is a complete replacement. Right now, the city of Natchez currently regulates all types of special events, tries to regulate all types of special events, parades, block parties, festivals, fairs, charity runs within the existing parade ordinance. The existing parade ordinance is limited and does not account for all the types of events Natchez has grown into over the last several years. The proposed ordinance would bring structure and a clear pathway to permit each of these different types of events so that the city departments are not overstretched to a point where it affects overall public safety. The new special events ordinance is thorough as it requires applicants to provide a completed application with the appropriate fee no earlier than 30 days prior to an event. The applicant will be required to list all details and plans of a proposed event prior to review and approval by a special events committee. Additionally, it classifies different events based on participant size, block length, city employee man hours, and number of vehicles and other factors relevant to events.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve and adopt the new special event ordinance as replacement for the existing parade
Second.
ordinance.
Alderwoman Hall has made the motion, Alderwoman Smith has seconded it. Discussion?
Yes, sir,
Yes.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Alderman Dillard?
I mean, just curious, no earlier than 30 days. So if I gave it to you one day before the event, that would be acceptable, correct?
No, 30 days prior. That's probably just a grammatical error that's in my staff report, but it's, the application is received 30 days prior to the event.
Well, the reason I was going to comment on the master, I think there were some recent events, and I think we have to also point out, this applies to other governmental entities,
Right.
whatever event it is.
Right.
It's not just,
Right, and there's,
happy events or this, whether it be a blood drive or vaccination or, we're giving out, things.
It has something in there with
there-
special-
It has to
some
go through this
exceptions.
process because our enforcement, has traffic control, and that's a big responsibility. So if you dumped it on them 2 days before then,
Right.
it becomes a problem.
Right.
Now, the only reason I'm quizzing it is that for whatever reason, my eyes see these things. I go, no earlier than 30 days, so that doesn't make any sense to me unless somebody got it 6 months prior to that. That would be ridiculous. So maybe you can give them a time frame where all of the responsible parties can be contacted and be brought up to speed. And I would assume that the Special Events Committee would, in fact, whether it be the fire department, the police department.
Right.
Be,
So this ordinance does allow for some discretion from the special events coordinator, and like from your point, state and federal entities, city-sponsored events, funeral processions, those things can be exempted from this type of, from getting an application for it.
all right, well, then this is different than the special event, but I even if the state came down here, Mr. Mayor, I think they would have an obligation, obviously, and courtesy to allow our law enforcement to know that an event was getting ready to occur. So you just tell me now that they're exempt, correct?
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor,
But of
I'm
course-
sorry, Alderwoman Irving's next, and then Alderwoman Hall, but Mr. Gianni, you were still speaking?
Yeah, it's just, the way we do it now is, I just say, okay, well, we have to get a meeting with all, the police chief, the fire chief, public works, and, EMA and all this kind of stuff, and get with the attorney to set a reasonable liability amount, and it's all kind of put together haphazardly.
Yeah.
And then we're all kind of running around trying to check all these boxes, like jumping in meetings and that sort of stuff. So this gives us a structure to fall back on for all the events, not just parades, but like 5Ks and street closures and that sort of stuff.
And I'd like it to include any other agencies, any event that's going to congregate more than, say, 100 people, because it becomes, a public liability issue if you don't have the proper planning to account for, whether it's moving traffic or moving people. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Alderwoman Hall?
Mr. Mayor, we've had many discussions on this. There is a special events committee, and the proper people, as Mr. Gianni just mentioned, are on that committee. This new ordinance came about as of recent events, parades, so we had to do something different.
Okay, thank you. Alderwoman Irving?
Okay, and so, my question is, the appropriate fee, what's that amount? Or does it vary depending on?
It
or is
varies.
just one standard
No,
fee?
it varies on size. So like, if you look, this chart that's on the slide is on page, it's on page 8, second to last page.
Okay.
And so, it's dependent on block length, even employee hours and number of vehicles or, floats that can be, included as vehicles. So there are some determining factors that the Special Events Committee can make. If it's a large event, then yes, they can, we can determine that it fits into Class A, and that sort of thing.
So I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
I have more than one, but I want to begin with the, let's say the Christmas parade.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be event A, 7+ employees or blocks and,
Oh yeah, I don't know how long that takes to set up. Unfortunately, I put myself on the Special Events Committee, and I wanted to strike myself out.
I'm just trying to figure out the fee amount.
Yeah, I know. Sorry, Brian.
Alderwoman Irving?
But I don't know. Yeah, to be straightforward, I don't know what it takes to set up those
Okay.
events. So I'm sorry.
And then I wanted, because I had marked several things on here. I love the idea of the committee with the police and all of that being established, because that's something that needs to happen. And, Public Works to be involved as well. But it said the animals. So, and I have to ask, because we have parades that does have animals in them. You got Black History Parade that would come, and they're gonna have animals. You got Christmas Parade that has animals in it. And so, so it said limited amount, the concentration of people and animals. So would they be permitted?
Yeah, but but there's a lot of, and it goes into very specific detail, like, if you have, let's say, horses on there, and we, question the applicant and be like, okay, who's gonna be the one cleaning up the poop? And they say no one, no, we're not gonna clean up the poo, or we're gonna just leave it to Public Works to clean it up, we can say, okay, no animals.
Yep, exactly.
Amen.
So,
Thank you, sir. I'm glad you answered that question.
Call for the question.
Alderman Frazier, did
Simply
you?
because the reason, as we, over the past, we done had problems where about people wanted to put the horses and different stuff. And it's been a big hoorah, especially during the Black History Parade. They wanted to put some animals in, horses. As you said, I think you addressed that once before, as long as they had the poop bag to catch it, it was fine. But a lot of people now are kind of like, leery about animals being in the parade and stuff. And the other thing that I have is that we're talking about the NAACP hold a parade, but they had to get permission from the state, from the national chapter in Washington DC. So it take them about 30 days or something to get that permit in order for them to have that parade in the name of the NAACP. So it's a lot of, as we all discussed, there's a lot of components to this and what's going on with it. Like, I am for, for this, but I think we should get with, but if we have a committee,
Yeah,
what's the committee, who's on the committee?
this,
Public Works.
yeah, so I kind of created an email chain that was kind of around, and then so I got some feedback from Miss Bartley and Justin and both the chiefs,
Excuse me, you got some feedback? What kind of feedback?
Oh,
did you
just
get?
throughout the determination, just in the crafting of this ordinance. So like everyone's comments would be included on this ordinance.
The city, as everyone knows, the city of Natchez is growing, we have all type of different events, though.
I know.
That's one.
Alderwoman Irving?
Okay, I just want to go because we have the second vaccination date already that we know it's going to be coming back. Mayor, I shared with you, that's going to be October 23rd.
Yes.
With the city, the county, and the other entities that partner with the Monteville Jubilee that will take place on the 23rd. I've already discussed with our police chief. I gave him that information. So do I need to fill out an application?
No, because it's a city-sponsored event.
Well,
So like, of course, we're
that's
gonna
in
work
here.
in,
It's in here.
yeah, we're gonna
Okay.
work internally,
All right.
like with the state or something, you know.
All right, the question's been called?
Oh,
It's
second.
in here.
Okay, second, all right. We will proceed to a vote. All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The ayes have it, motion carries. All right, Mr.
Good job.
Johnny,
That's it.
thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Doing a lot of work. And by the way, I heard today, his office is fielding so many calls, and you would be amazed at how many utility connections are being made, and how many permits are being applied for. The Natchez renewal is going strong, and Mr. Gianni, you're working hard to keep up with it. I know Mr. Rutter said he's never seen anything like it. Thank you for the hard work you're putting in. City official reports. By the way, before we go much further, Mr. Moon, you're just sitting there so patiently. I want to thank you and what the water department does for Natchez, and your responsiveness whenever we have a concern or call out to you. Yeah. It's good to have you here tonight.
Mr. Mayor, since you addressed that, I want to thank him too, because the water department's always Johnny on the spot when it comes to a leak or something. And I see you all around town working everywhere. Every time you drive in the street in Natchez, you'll see the Natchez water work on the job. So thank you.
You really do. You really do.
Appreciate you. We'll now move to city official reports. Alderwoman Hall?
Yes, sir. The Recreation Department is working very hard. Our director has interviewed for the maintenance position, and she'll be interviewing this week, the latter part of this week, for her assistant. So we're very happy about the work she's already been doing. She's been working since day one. And I also went to the Bluff this weekend when NAMI was there, the National Association for Mental Health. And I want to encourage anyone who needs mental health to do seek it out, or you or your family members. That is a worthy organization, as well as Southwest Mental Health. That concludes my report, Mr.
And I want to thank you, Alderwoman Hall, for representing me and the city so well at the NAMI Walk this weekend. Thank you. Alderman Frazier.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. First, I'd like to make some clarification on a comment that you made at the last board meeting concerning the way I voted.
Yes, sir.
Dealing with the recovery center down on Franklin Street.
Yes.
As I stated earlier, and I stated again, I didn't vote. I voted against that simply because of the reason it was used, city and county property was used to do that project. So that's why I voted for it. Second, I voted against the Howard Brothers buildings. I voted against that because we used citizen money to pay Windsor Lodge Road, which is a private road. I voted against that. So I want to just get that cleared out there and everything first. Now, here's my other report. My other report is, I would like to address something. My other report is that I have a number of complaints from the citizens in Ward 2 who feel that they are being underserved by poor service that they are getting by the Public Works Department. Ms. Foster on Bluebird Drive, who has been having problems with the grass cutting behind her house. She done called several times. Mr. John Edwards on Ray Street, drainage problem, grass cutting, everything. Mr. Bowser in Mayfair Subdivision, who is the president of Mayfair Subdivision, who has been calling about the trees and stuff on Martin Luther King, and also the drainage problems in that area, which we haven't addressed yet. And as you know now, we just getting to where Mr. Robinson is getting his done out there, but it's been a long process. And Mr. Berry, 1164 Martin Luther King, who is complaining about trees are hanging over the street. Now, let me say this. All these citizens have complaints about different areas. And my constituents, and I'm just gonna say is my constituents who look like me feel that they are being underserved by Public Works. Now, they come to me, and I'm just gonna put it out, they come to me, you can cut trees downtown on Franklin Street from over hanging over the street, but you can't come over here and cut trees. You can water flowers out, but you can't do nothing. I have on Martin Luther King Street, I have grass growing up through the cracks on the streets and stuff that is not being taken care of. As you say, I know Public Works been on a strain, but these people on my ward feel that they are not being taken care of properly by the Public Works Department. Now, this is not just slander Mr. Dollar, but I'm just letting you know this is how the people of this ward feel about the service that they are getting from the city of Natchez. And I hope in the future that when we get this money, this stimulus money or whatever, that we can address some of these infrastructure problems that I have in my ward and to be taken care of. Like I say, I can go on and on and on about people who's complaining about Ward 2, and it might be other wards, I don't know, but I can only speak for what's transpired in my ward and how the people's feeling about the Public Works Department. Public Works Department and the people, I know a lot of guys over there, they are hard-working guys, they work, you got some good people over there, but I like I say, I don't know what the problem is, but in the near future, I think we can address that and move on in the future. Now, my other complaint is that Titan Tire Company, the grass cutting on Rickman Street and Fraser Street, that plant over there look a disaster. People are complaining about roaches and rats coming from that plant. The grass need cutting. Now, if you think I'm just sitting up here just woofing or telling the story, just ride by there and look. You can get in your vehicle and ride over there day or tomorrow and look at that plant. It is a disgrace the way it looks. It need cleaning up, it need cutting. I am speaking from the hard people. I'm not just sitting up here just trying to create this image of being just complaining about everything. That is the truth. You can go there. Matter of fact, I have a young lady just shaking her head who stay in that area who can tell you about that plant and how it looks. But the only thing I am asking for this board in the city of Natchez to please reach out to these people and try to take care of some of these situations. As you say, these people feel that they can't get service. And when they do get service, they say, well, we just getting some no shabby service. They just throwing us anything, and that's what we get. So I'm just asking the board to say, we can improve on what we're doing in our community, and I would like to improve the health and the health of these people and the welfare of these people in Ward 2. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Alderman Frazier, if you would, bring me a list. I would like to see the list because we do our best to respond every day to the calls that we get at the mayor's office. So give me a list, but I also want to say in the defense of our public works crew, well, you-
He can speak.
speak for yourself, but I want to speak for you too. You've been short-handed. You've
Mr.
been
Mayor, I
working
would like to
hard,
say something.
and we're going.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor, everybody had, they say so, we doing.
That's true, and you know, this is Alderman reports.
Yes,
and
yes, I say, but.
It's Alderman reports, but
Exactly, it's
Mr.
Alderman
Dollar,
report. I don't have a problem with Mr.
he wants
Dollar
to at
speaking.
least
Somebody else wants to.
respond,
Go ahead on, Mr. Dollar.
and so, Mr. Dollar, we're going to ask you to respond.
Yeah, thank you. Just to clarify some of the things that Alderman Frazier has mentioned, of course, we are understaffed, we had an inmates, but I know of 3 or 4 of those instances you just recently mentioned. I think based on that, you're giving a false impression of what's not being done. I know of 3 or 4 of those that have been taken care of. I've met personally with those residents, and we have addressed those issues that have been taken care of. So I find that to be untruthful to what's being stated. And also to you to kind of pinpoint what's being done in one area versus another. I will entertain you to come by the office at any day you want to, and you can look at the work orders, what areas they're done in, and I can assure you there is no weight given to any ward more than another.
Well, Mr. Dollar, let me address you on that too. This is, like I say, these is coming from the people, and I know for a fact. Mr. Edwards down there on Ray Street, he been calling for years about cutting grass and drainage pipe. This is an ongoing situation. This is, like I say,
What I can
if
say
I
in
need
regards-
to, if I need to get these peoples up there, and we can get them up here in a board meeting, right, and they can come up here and speak for themselves, I can do that, but like I say, this is something I'm not gonna sit up here and argue with you about. So other people got reports, say, you said your say and I said mine.
Yeah, I'm not here to argue with you about
Yes.
any of it. I'm here to state facts, and what I will say is Mr. Edwards did call the office. The following day, a crew was on site on Ray Street, and from that point, we've called a locate in to complete the one section in front of his property. Now, you can go out with me, and you're more than welcome to come by the office at any time, and you and I can have these conversations.
What I would do, I would get in the truck with you one time, and I'll ride with you, like I say. I got people complaining about, every time there's something come up, it's private property, you can't do nothing on their property. But as they say, you do stuff all over town, but.
Yeah, you're more than welcome. You're
All
more than
right.
welcome to come by at any time.
And we're going to say again, Alderman Frazier, if you'll provide to me a list, be happy to look into those. We're going to move on, Alderwoman Irving.
Sarah,
I'm sorry, Alderwoman Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. One of the things I just wanted to address that is an issue that I would like to see Officer Baldwin help Ms. Smith with is just cars parking all over the yard. That's not allowed. I see it all over town, not just in Ward 3. I see it a lot of places. If we could get some help with that and possibly get a report, Mr. Mayor, on the citations that go out for those code violations.
Yes.
So we could understand what's being done across town. Because I do believe in going directly with each situation, which I do when my constituents come to me with something, I go directly and try to work something out with getting something done instead of this lambasting a department director. I'm just not very happy about that. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you, Alderwoman. Alderwoman Irving.
Okay. Well, I want to begin addressing what Mr. Frazier just stated. I just want to add to it. There are lots of calls. And what I wanted to do tonight, Mayor, was ask that we get the street committee together so that we can sit down. And he can probably comprise his list, and I can give you mine, because I have some that are calling in with the same concerns. And they are, what I've identified, Mayor, I walk a lot in the community. I see that we have property owners go out and clean up the property beautifully, okay? But they pull the limbs to the corner. Public Works can't pick them up. That's property owner. That goes back to Mr. Baldwin and Mrs. Smith making contact with those property owners so that those items can be removed. We have a lot of that going on. And I've explained that to the constituents, but I feel like the committee needs to come together so that we can address it, because it remains there. I mean, we've had storm after storm, and nothing has been done to alleviate community members from the debris that they're trying to get rid of. I've had people call me about furniture, and I explained, we pay the fee if they're able to take it to the landfill. Most cases, they don't have the transportation to take it to the landfill. So they're happy about the fee being paid to enter it, but do not have access to taking it out there, the debris out there to be hauled off. So that is something we need to do, and if we could set
Be
that up.
happy to schedule that. And
Okay.
if you'd like for Pam Patterson to assist you, just call her tomorrow.
I sure will.
We'll get it scheduled. Thank you.
You're welcome. And Mr. Dollar, I just want to say thank you for all that you do. You do a great job out at Public Works Department. Anytime our constituents call, you're there, whether it's first thing in the morning, late at night. I've called you over the weekend. You've taken care of first thing Monday morning. So I just want to say thank you for all that you do to keep our community clean. And I have to say this as well, you all. Mr. Dollar is working really hard to recruit people to our department. I mean, he's used every option that he has to try and recruit people for that department. He's done that. And he's used the school, the high school. He's tried to reach out to other facilities to get more offenders to come and help with the cleaning. And we understand why they're not back here, because they're working in their own community. So he's done a number of things to help clean up our city. The other thing that I want to share is that our community COVID vaccination site will take place again. This will be for those that had received their first vaccine and for those that want to receive their booster. They will be available. That date will be October 23rd, 2021, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Macedonia Baptist Church, 33 Minor Street. And I would just like to give an update. We had a wonderful turnout at that vaccination COVID site. We had over 100 people vaccinated. We had over 50 people getting first-time vaccinations. That was wonderful. That was wonderful. They were walking in and saying, it's here, we have to get it done. And you have to meet people where they're at, and that's so important. Okay, and I want to thank all those partners. As a matter of fact, Mayor, we did so well. The Mississippi Department of Health representative, Ms. Melissa Johnson, said we could possibly get some funding offered this time. So we're going to be speaking, the committee will be speaking with a representative and possibly get some money out there. So every hour on the hour, we will have that announced to the radio station. Come on out and get your vaccination, get your booster. And I encourage all of you all that are here tonight, all of our board members, please come. Alderman Dillard came and got his booster. I thank him. I received my booster as well. Ms. Lavada Hill got her booster. I mean, it was just a number of people that had the booster for the Moderna, the Pfizer, and the Genesis. They were all there. Okay, so.
Okay, they're not even exist.
And we even, this was the Mississippi Department of Health, you all. Let me just share this. They provided all the information.
I'm sorry,
I don't want to share their information.
Yes,
So, we even were able to get children vaccinated with the Pfizer, 12 and older. I mean, it was just a win-win. So I just want to say thank you with that.
That was just a
I also have 2 neighborhood watch meetings scheduled. The St. Catherine Street Area Neighborhood Watch will take place October 13th. And I'm doing this because it would give those community members the opportunity to hear me making this announcement at Murray Street Temple Church at 8 Peral Street, and that's going to be on October 13th at 6 p.m. I would also put it in the tracings in the newspaper. And on October the 11th, we will have Neighborhood Watch at the Senior Citizen Building. That would be at 6 p.m. That's going to be the Washington Street Area Neighborhood Watch. At 6 p.m., I will reach out to our police chief, and all of our aldermen are invited to attend if they choose. They can come meet the neighbors and hear their concerns. That'll be at 6 p.m., Washington Street Neighborhood Watch. And Mr. Mayor, that ends my report.
Thank you, Alderwoman. Alderman Davis?
No report, Mayor.
Thank you. Alderman Dillard?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good discussions. We brought up about the financial audits, and I think we had a long discussion with that. I do want to thank Alderwoman Irving for giving me a call at the house to come and get the booster shots. One thing that's on my mind, Mr. Mayor, and I think we need to maybe form a committee that we can best serve those interests, is that the infrastructural improvements and drainage projects and all of those sort of things, I think we need a comprehensive approach to this instead of, just happening in wards, where you're just kind of cherry picking which ones. You know, I have wards too that, for example, in Roselawn, that desperately need some drainage attentions in there that flood when we get hard rains. And those are people that don't look like me.
That's right.
That I need to, you know, answer to and try to. I've got people in Montebello that have drainage problems. They got an aqueduct down through the middle of that thing. That's probably the most dangerous thing that you could imagine. And a lot of those people down there don't look like me, but I think they need to have
Absolutely.
the kind of support. So I think we need to look at a comprehensive, coherent approach to this instead of me arm wrestling you for see if I can get funds in my ward, or
Right.
you're going to tell me what I've got to do to this ward. And you know, I mean, I lived with a oak tree bigger than this room on top of Duncan Park for about 3 or 4 months, and finally got those taken care of. So that would be my suggestion to this board, Mr. Mayor, that we find, and if you would help organize it, a comprehensive approach to the infrastructural needs for the city of Natchez, including all wards.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, and I have a report on that.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes,
That's
Alderwoman
awesome.
Smith.
One of the things that, all that the work that's being done in the city to improve everything, jobs, buildings, codes, ordinances, everything that we're doing, I do feel like it needs to be a collective effort with our citizens to take care of our own properties too. I know, there's confusion, I think, because when I had a lady call me from my ward and said the city needed to come cut a tree. It was hanging over the street. Well, I went to her house and I said, "Oh, I'm sorry, ma'am, this is your tree. When a tree is in your yard, you have to cut it, not to go over the street. It's your responsibility." So I think there's confusion on what the city's responsibility can be sometimes and what our own property ownership, when we take pride in our property and try to take care of our own properties and pick up trash and do everything. I've gotten more calls, you know, streets, oh, there's trash everywhere. Nobody walks it into the street and picks up any trash anymore. I do just hope that we can work together, owners, renters, and all of us to try to help keep Natchez beautiful.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Alderwoman Hall had her hand up.
Yes, sir, 2 things. The first thing, Ms. Cole could not be here tonight,
Yeah.
and she asked me to give a report for her.
Yes.
The Parks and Recreation Department is currently preparing for 3 community events set to take place in November and December of this year. The first 2 events are Movies in the Park, hosted at North Natchez Park on Friday, November 19th, and Duncan Park on December 3rd. Families are encouraged to bring blankets, chairs, and picnic baskets to enjoy the family movie night under the stars. The 3rd community event will be on December 17th. This will be our Pajama Jam. Our holiday-themed event will host up to 144 participants dressed in their favorite PJs. Participants will decorate their own pillowcases and Christmas cookies while jamming to holiday music and sipping hot cocoa. These events are free to the public and will abide with the CDC guidelines as they relate to the pandemic and social distancing. Also, they're also currently in the works of exploring a maintenance system for our maintenance department. This system will provide visibility and accountability for work orders, unscheduled repairs of grounds, and preventive maintenance. This system will also provide a detailed list of all equipment and the inventory utilized by park staff. And my second statement is that I want to thank Mr. Dollar and his staff for all they do for this city. I personally call in work orders. I don't tell them I need it done the next day, but I patrol my ward, my entire ward, and when I see something, I do call in a work order, as well as residents in Ward 1. And I think they're doing a tremendous job with the staff they have.
Thank you, Alderwoman. Thank you. Alderman Frazier?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Let me say this. I am in total agreement with the Mayor Pro Tem. We do need to get together and see what we're gonna do with this infrastructure money and how we're gonna spend it in each and every one ward. But as I stated earlier, I was just simply stating what the people in my ward had presented to me. That's all I was doing.
All right. Thank you, Alderman Frazier. Alderwoman Irving?
Okay. One of the things I would like to see, Mayor, and it may very well be there, but maybe there's something we need to have on our site, the tree ordinance. I think that because hearing tonight from that gentleman who was there, he said he was waiting for his neighbor to remove the tree that had fell on his property off. And instantly, I went, if your neighbor's tree fell on your property, then that's your tree. So that you have to have ownership of that, and you are responsible for moving it. And so that is so confusing to residents of this community. They don't have that language. They don't know that. I had an experience with it, and I lost 2 vehicles. That's why I know it firsthand. I can tell you back and forth. However, our community members don't know. They need to be aware of the tree ordinance here in the city of Natchez. And I think if we put that visibly, and possibly on Public Works website, on the city's website, let's get it out there so that
we
they
can
would
do
know.
that.
And that would make things a lot more easier. Even when they're cutting down limbs and things, they will understand. You're responsible for that.
All right, thank you. I'd like for us to move on, interest of time. City Clerk's report, approval of claims docket.
Thank you, Mayor.
So moved.
Thank you.
Motion made by Alderman Dillard and seconded by Alderman Davis. I think they're ready. Any discussion on the motion?
Yes, I have.
Alderwoman Irving?
Okay. I want to begin with, I think it's page 34, the General Hospital. So I see did we get an appraisal on it? I think it's on page 34.
That's the first of the appraisals that
And so,
That were
what,
ordered.
we haven't had any discussion. So what are we, and if the board has not, the Public Properties Committee has not either.
The board approved proceeding with appraisals at a meeting, a few meetings
Sure
ago.
did.
And that is part of the public record in the minutes. So that's what we're doing. At
I
market
think it's
rate.
34. Let me just be sure, let me go through, I have it here.
And I believe we're waiting on the invoice on the second, and then we will proceed,
Maybe 37.
move forward.
But it's $4,000 for that appraisal. And so,
Yeah, we've been shocked at how appraisals have gone up because appraisers are so busy, but it is what it is.
we couldn't get
Mr.
anyone
Johnson can
local?
tell you, Mr. Johnson could give you the list. We exhausted a list.
Of
And,
local?
yes, of appraisers throughout the region. It's harder and harder to get appraisers right now.
We're busy.
And they're busy. And Mr. Johnson worked very hard and we had to negotiate. The prices originally were higher, and
Okay.
we had to negotiate with them.
So then I have one other question there.
Sure.
Pertaining to this, and that is, so this would go back out for bids for if someone wanted to bid it out, we would do the process if they wanted to.
The board actually voted to do this with the city bearing the cost of one and the towers bearing the cost of the other, and then achieving a price that we would then enter a negotiation for the purchase of that
Oh,
building.
so we're gonna sell it
That
to
is what
Mrs.
that,
We're
well,
selling it.
we're going to have the appraisals done and then we'll see. But that was voted
Yes,
on
that was voted on.
at a prior meeting.
So that's what's happening with that. So we have a community member that's interested in purchasing. Okay, so then I have, let me go back.
I thought that was it.
On page 5, it says fire department at the top of the page, so was our city attorney paid out of the fire department fund? I'm just asking. It's on page 5. It has fire, it may be an error.
Yeah, she wrote that with her hand. No, it's still the city attorney.
It
It's
was,
handwritten. Somebody here reading, it's still
Oh,
city attorney.
the,
It's just handwritten, yes, sir.
yeah.
okay.
160
it-
would be the fire department,
That's
60 is
correct.
the
Okay,
attorney's
Right.
just,
department.
okay,
So somebody wrote it scratched out on mine, correct?
okay.
Oh, that was
I was
written
just
in
asking.
error, but the code is definitely
It's the
professional
same one, yes, sir.
services.
It's the
Okay.
same one.
If you
Same
look,
code.
it's
Okay.
060-600.
Same phone number, yes, sir,
professional
that's correct.
services.
Okay, just making sure.
Yes.
All right, so have another one about Project NOLA cameras, but I asked that in executive session.
I don't know that we have an executive session on the agenda. I don't know.
You don't have to
No.
say no, sir.
We aren't having.
Oh, we don't have an executive session tonight?
Yeah, this could, we do encourage these questions to be asked before the meeting.
Well, Mr. Mayor, I really had some procedures done, and I couldn't get my paperwork
Yeah.
read until today, honestly.
Okay.
That's why you see me in this.
We're doing our
And
best.
I'm almost finished. Let's go to page
Thank you.
43. And I just wanted to ask, because there are a few things omitted, and I would have, but I couldn't read this until today.
Okay.
I see that there have been a few things omitted again, and so it could be an error. We don't have Mr. Brookins' salary, we don't have Mr. Wahlberg's salary in our, we don't have Mr. Wahlberg assistant. Is it here?
I
They get it
believe,
once a month.
Mr. Wahlberg is
I'm
a
just
once-a-month
asking, so
contract.
then that
And I
answers
believe
the
that
reason-
was on the last one.
Probably was, sir, yes.
It
sir.
wasn't, because we
So they
didn't
can
have a
see.
last one, the first of the month, and I'm not being argumentative.
We had this
I'm
every,
merely
we had this every
stating.
meeting, yeah.
We
It
did
was
have
not
one.
there last time, Ms.
I looked,
Seville.
I can't tell you, I'm not in my office. You'd have called me in my office, I'd have told you.
Okay.
I can't
I
tell
would,
you.
I would encourage you to ask the city clerk, and she'll be able to answer that.
Talk
Okay,
about it
because it
one
was
time.
not, and I'm just
Trust me,
asking.
Ms. Irvin, he getting his money.
I understand that, but I don't want to prove it
If we
tonight,
could,
and
if we
it's
could
not
move
here.
on,
You be knocking our door down.
if we could move on, yes. Alderwoman Irving, do you have any other questions?
Those were all my questions.
All right.
And I know they're getting
Second.
paid, but it is, and then I have a question.
Yeah.
So this total amount right here, if they're getting paid, he get paid once a month, and we get paid the 15th and the 30th. I'm asking.
Oh, it's not a payroll, it's a vendor. Contract.
It's
not
a
payroll.
once-a-month
He's a
contract.
vendor.
And if you would, ask Ms. Fortenberry these questions tomorrow, I'm sure she'll
Okay.
have,
He don't
be
get paid
better
twice.
able to answer them.
Okay.
Thank you.
Call for the
And,
question.
the question's been called?
Second.
Okay. We will proceed to a vote. All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
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 All opposed, nay. The ayes have it, motion carries. Next
Mr. Mayor.
item, Madam.
Thank you, board. Ask the board to consent
Yes,
approve the meeting
Alderwoman
doc.
Irving, I'm sorry.
I just wanted to ask that she add in the minutes that I'm, approving everything with the exception of the fire department.
Okay.
Thank you. I ask the
Thank
board to
you.
consider approving the mini docket.
So moved.
Second.
Alderwoman Hall has made the motion, Alderwoman Smith has seconded. Any discussion? We'll call for the question.
Second.
We'll proceed to a vote. All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Ayes have it, motion carries. Next item.
The next item, Mayor, the board did approve.
We've already done that.
Yes, sir,
And
but I wanted
by
to
the
know
way,
that it's
pertaining to
coming.
the next item, I had some texting back and forth. Mr. Wallace Collins has been watching. He wanted to make sure that everyone understood that there was, while there was an estimation difference in the noted in the audit,
Amended, yeah, amended
and
budget.
it was a $414,000, estimation
It takes me
difference.
too, yes, sir.
He wanted to make sure that everyone understand we closed 2020 in the black. That is definitely a positive. The total general fund cash balance at 9/30/20 was a $102,000 surplus. We don't want anyone thinking we actually had a deficit. We did not have a deficit. That was just a problem in the reconciliations that was noted. But he wanted to make sure to settle the record that we did because we said this last year that we balanced the budget. We did balance the budget, and the audit shows that on page 43. The total general fund was $102,000 surplus, and the overall the total cash balance $925,000 surplus. So the city's in healthy, really good condition. We want to make sure all that's noted. I also want to make another point too. You know, that is during a pandemic. We were just coming into office and had all those challenges. And let's not now lose sight of the fact that here a year later, we are looking at a balanced budget with, again, a little over $100,000 surplus likely, and also another $900,000 surplus likely.
Mm-hmm.
And during this time, we have added all of these new police cars,
Mm-hmm.
salary increases for fire, for public works, for other general laborers, and some other key positions. We have also, during this time, we have had to make tremendous expenditures regarding EWP projects, not the least of which was almost $400,000 our copay to save Cemetery Road. And so, with all of this said, we also had an ice storm, a historic ice storm. We managed to do that cleanup. And we have done all of this while keeping within our budget and without raising any taxes. And so, let's not lose sight of all of that.
Okay.
All right, back to you, Madam Clerk.
Mr. Dillon, the information's on page 43 while it says, the mayor just said about Ike, it's on page 43. He's grabbing it too. And another thing, you'll make a correction, y'all, it should be FY 2020 on there for the audit, not 21. So just in your notes, where it says, the one we approved
Oh,
already.
yes, right.
You'll make it 2020, okay?
That's right.
And the mayor is saying that about this amended budget, so what the audit was saying is that our amended budget was out of whack, off by 414,000. So this year, that's why we're gonna propose to approve them in the budget, but give Wallace time, because Wallace wasn't with us last year. He was with us, but he wasn't available. We had his buddy Rob, his partner Rob, I think it was, that worked with us. But Wallace wanna get time to let 9:30 in and then make the amendments. We rushed and pushed it and tried to get in by 9:30. So you'll see it on on the agenda, I'm gonna ask you all to approve us amending with year-end actuals. They give us time to go ahead and get it right.
And that
But we
way
forced it last year.
have the year-end action.
Yes, sir, we
That's
forced
right.
it. Okay, and so next item, I'm asking permission for, to approve an engagement letter from Silas Simmons to do our F-121 audit.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Alderwoman Smith, seconded by Alderwoman Hall. Any discussion on the motion? We'll call for the question.
Second.
We will now proceed to a vote. All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Nays? The ayes have it, motion carries.
Thank you, Board. The next item is gonna be our workman's comp. I gave you a copy of the invoice, and I'll have the actual documents in my office, hopefully first thing in the morning, Mayor.
Yes, Alderwoman Smith?
May I be recused as my
Yes.
employers on this?
Okay. Oh, thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you,
Okay.
Alderwoman Smith. Let the
Yes.
record indicate
I'm
that
Uncle Smith.
Alderwoman Smith has recused
Thank you.
herself from this discussion and has left the meeting.
Thank you, Mayor.
Yes, now
So the next
continue.
item, I did email it to you all when I got it in this house of press, so I did print a copy and put it on your desk today. But I'm asking you to approve UMB's financing for the renewal of our workman's comp insurance for FY 22. And we did get a discount last year because they gave us a 20% discount.
It was
So
a
even without the
one-time.
discount, we still below what we budgeted.
That's great. It was a one-time COVID discount we were given
Right.
last year, and we're doing very
So
well.
without that discount, we still okay.
And we're doing very
Yes,
well. I will entertain a motion.
So moved.
A motion made by Alderwoman
Second.
Hall, seconded by Alderwoman Irving. Discussion on the motion. I'll call for the question.
Call.
We'll proceed to a vote. All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The ayes have it, motion carries, with Alderwoman Smith having recused herself.
Yes, sir. She
If
can
we
return.
could let Alderwoman Smith know, Dustin, that she can return to the meeting. Thank you.
I want to wait till you retire, Mayor, because this next item is very important.
State what year this was.
Yes, ma'am. Well, it's an ongoing read this statement for a while. It's okay. Okay. So the next item, Mr. Dillon has said it many times about, that 109 fund not being a fund you can just transfer out, you know, and how we treated it. So I want to read you all an email from our consultant, Mr. Wallace. He said, "We have discussed this problem with interfund loans for many years. The auditors have also taken exception to how these transactions were recorded going all the way back to 2012 and 2013. Advances, loans have been recorded in prior years in funds that do not have the capability to repay these loans back." So if we read this next item, we've been out of balance for years because it have never been put in the books correctly. So this next item I'm asking you for is so we can make this entry, it'll be a one-time entry, and going forward, Mr. Dillon, we will make those entries to make sure that the general fund balance, because we took money from 109.
And this dates back to how many years ago?
He said 2013 and 2012 and 2013 on here is when they started taking their money from the casino funds and giving it to general and never paying it back or never balancing the books back out.
Alderman Dillard?
So I'm gonna read. the
Yes,
motion.
thank you, Mr. Mayor. as you point out, I'm the senior member of the board. As former Mayor Butch Brown, I'm the oldest rat in the barn now. So I was here when we were negotiating the casino lease payment fund. And I was here and I made the motion just to intentionally separate those monies from the general fund. Because at that time, there was a race to find out who had the most horrible streets in the city of Natchez. And that at that time, the Public Works Department, we were able to get FAU funds. And that sounds like an acronym that, it sounds kind of like the Howard Brothers building to me. Anybody remembers what that building was? And you don't get FAU funds. We don't get funds from the federal government. The federal government, if they improved roads all around you, they took into account that it would cause arterial roads to accelerate and wear because of the traffic increases. So you don't get those. State Street, Main Street, Homachetta Street, Park Place, we have to go down the list. We did, almost $1.3 million worth of street overlays, if not more. And in the last administration, I don't think we did any, and it doesn't look like we're gonna do now, because now those monies that came for the casino lease funds by the motion that I made was under the control of the board to do these kind of improvements that we can't do otherwise. And for the last couple of minutes, last year, and it looks like this year, and this looks like what this is being requested, all the monies from the casino lease fund are being poured into the administration.
So this one is a correction, Mr. Dillon. We're not moving anything currently. It's just old books, fixing books.
Is the current casino lease fund scheduled as a transfer or a loan? What I'm telling you is the reason it was loans and transfers was to try to have some way of having some monies in reserve in the event for things that we can't otherwise afford to do and want to do.
The biggest thing they've done with this money, Mr. Dillon, has put it toward that bond payment. That's the biggest thing. Now, they do, like you said, they do use it for here, there. And usually come before this board before we do, but I don't know about that previous. But since I've been here, it's been used mainly for that bond payment.
Now, having talked to Mr. Wallace over the telephone, what we're being asked to do here basically is tidy up, clean up the books of things that happened. What I'm arguing about in this board, if you guys don't realize it, we're gonna need to do some paving here sooner or later. You don't go forever. You don't take paving and go 10 years without paving again. I promise you, asphalt doesn't last that long.
That's right.
And if we continue to spend all of the money for more government, we're not gonna be able to do the things that we're gonna need to do.
Absolutely.
And if it all goes into the administration, there won't be any monies available to do these things. So, I'll make the motion to approve your request to reclassify that as an effort to tidy up and clean up the books of the past actions that we've asked to, so that the books can be reconciled.
Second.
That motion has been made by Alderman Dillard and seconded by Alderman Davis. Discussion on the motion. Yes, Alderwoman Smith?
I certainly know we have to do this, but I do agree that it was done, we had to do this. I mean, and now that our finances are changing, I would like for this board to look at the possibility, if we can allocate some of that money specifically for paving after the new year. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. I will remind everyone, when we came into office, our main goal was just making sure we balanced the budget, and that we also managed to take care of our employees' equipment needs and a lot of other things. We've managed to do that, and yes, let's make this a priority going forward. Thank you. Other discussion?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Alderman Frazier.
As the Mayor Pro Tem stated, I was in total agreement with that, because as they, most of them, and he stated too, most of the streets in Natchez, it's been a while since we have did anything with them. And as it stands now, most of them are in bad shape, deteriorating. And we got to do something with that money, like I say, we just gonna let it waste. So I'm in total agreement with that.
Thank you, Alderman Frazier.
Call for the question.
The question has been called.
Second.
We'll proceed to a vote. All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The ayes have it, motion carries.
Thank you, Board.
Next item, Madam Clerk.
Yes, sir, Mayor. My last item, I asked the board to approve budget amendments for FY '21 to actual year-end totals by fund, department, and by purpose, and this is recommended by our state auditor's office.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Alderwoman Smith, seconded by Alderwoman Hall. Discussion?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. I mean, have they been tallied so that we can see what the year-end amendments would look like?
I will make sure you send me before we do anything in the paper, Mr. Dillard. They're
Once
working.
we have
they're
the
work-
actual.
Yes, sir.
that's
This
the
week
motion.
has been dedicated totally to getting this audit done, and we have been working on budget amendments this week. But they're not finished because year end hadn't ended. They won't be finished after September 30th.
It's just kind of a little bit awkward. Maybe I'm looking at this wrong. I'm asked to approve an amendment that I haven't seen, so.
It's,
They say with actuals.
It actually, in fact, I just got a
You talk
text
out
from
of
Wallace Collins. I wish he was here.
I know.
He just said, make sure everyone knows that this is needed. It's actually something that was just pointed out in our audit report. Because we had that error, we would have avoided that error if we had
Taking our
simply
time, yes,
said,
sir.
our amended budget will be actual. And until all of these checks clear, and until we actually just approved expenditures from tonight. So all of that has to be factored in and accounted. And also, we still have 2 days, and we're working to get some more funds from the tax collector that we're due from the summer tax sale. We haven't received those yet. So all that has to
Oh,
settle
yeah,
out.
that's right.
So this actually is it's a safeguard. It's saying the amendment will be what it is, rather than some estimate.
What we
It
did
will
last
be
year,
what
yeah.
it
Call
is. It will
the
be
question.
actual. Question's been called?
Second.
Okay, we'll proceed to the vote. All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Motion carries.
That concludes my report, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Before we proceed, Alderwoman Hall, you asked to be recognized.
Yes, sir. I would like to respond to someone who has written in, Ms. Martin, who is alleging that there are a lot of needs in Ward 1. I do acknowledge that, Ms. Martin. I have responded to your calls from Ward 1. And as far as MAP taking over the AJFC building and Head Start, they have been addressed about the trash and those bins. And I think they have made efforts to keep that area clean. Also, I'm not aware of any wires being down on West Woodlawn nor East Woodlawn. However, there is trash at a vacant home on West Woodlawn that has been put on our adjudicated list. That is a vacant home, so it is on our adjudicated list at this moment. And I do not believe those limbs are from the winter storm. So I did want to address that. That had been typed
All right.
in.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alderwoman Hall. We'll now
Excuse me,
proceed.
the wires on the Commerce Extension, I have also spoken to Energy about those wires, and just today, Mr. Jody Rudder went out looking at those wires as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I have a question.
yes,
Just wanted to ask
Alderwoman.
Alderwoman Hall, who was the representative that you spoke with at Entergy?
The director himself.
Is that Mr. Tim Runnell? Okay, I just wanted to ask,
Okay.
because okay, all right.
All right, the city attorney's report. Mr. Callaway? Sure. We had a meeting earlier today just to clarify that there are some invoices that are due on our Shift South campaign, and we had a meeting actually with the attorney and also with Wallace Collins. Ms. Fortenberry, do you want to present just what funds those, how much those are and what fund
I'll
those
say.
will be paid out of?
Yes, so they are two invoices in the amount of $6,100 each. So there were a total of $12,200. And the reason it has to be transferred into the Natchez EDA fund, because we have legislation that still has 2 more days before it expires, and we cannot use general fund to pay them directly. But we can use it to transfer loan it to the Natchez EDA, but pay the general fund back when the ad valorem come in.
Okay.
It has to go through that fund. And it has to have legislation, so we have both of those for the next 2 days.
Okay.
So moved.
We can make the transfer.
So we can do it?
We can make the transfer, yes, sir.
Okay, that's all I did.
Okay. Motion has been made by Alderwoman Smith. Do I have a second?
Second?
Seconded by Alderwoman Hall. Discussion on the motion.
One brief comment.
Yes,
And I think, where we tried to get the millage right every time coming with this Natchez Inc., but this is a case in point that I've been trying to make, is that we're obligated to fund Natchez Inc. at $100,000 a year. If the millage generates more than that, it's economic development. So I absolutely see this as a perfect case where that fits. This is all part of economic development. And, so you just cut off the checks to Natchez Inc. at 100, that's what they get. Anything other than that could be a cash balance and carried forward, but could be applied, perfect example of economic development other than Natchez Inc., even though they're related, and the funds are going through there. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Alderman Dillard. Any further discussion? We'll proceed, call for the question.
Called.
Second.
We'll proceed to a vote. All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
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 All opposed, nay. The ayes have it, motion
May I
carries.
have one more question or comment for the board?
Yes, yes, Madam Clerk.
So this legislation will expire in 2 days.
Yes. I believe we
But
have
but
an
that's-
item pertaining to
This
that.
is the same one, Mayor. I'm asking about, I have a question for the item we just approved.
Oh, yes.
So it expires in 2 days. And so Mr. Callaway will write legislation to get a new legislation in January that may take until March to do.
That's
I talked to Amy today.
Yeah.
She has 2 pending.
Yes.
I don't know if they want to even consider those 2 pending, or just, if they don't get approved now, we won't have legislation after Thursday. If they go through in October, November, December, January, February, we can't pay it until we get new legislation. So I just want the board to know that we have those 2 pending, and if they're not included in this motion, that they will not be approved until
Mayor,
after March, the
Alderman.
new legislation starts. So I just want to put it out there.
All right.
Yes,
We've
sir.
already approved that motion, so this would require a separate motion.
Yeah, I just want to put it out
So
there.
moved.
Okay, a motion has been made for payment of those pending invoices by Alderwoman Smith.
And Mrs. Smith, if it doesn't come in, don't
Miss-
worry about it, okay? If they don't,
Do I have a second on the motion first?
Second.
The Alderman Davis has seconded the motion. Discussion?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
How many have we had? Just,
I don't see how we can pay an invoice when this Senate bill expires in 2 days.
They would have to be paid.
no, let me
tomorrow.
say this, Mayor, no, what the author told me was, the author said, if we have legislation, like if millage coming in, or if we have money in that account. Those are 2
Money in
options.
that account.
So if you loan money into that account, you still can use it.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to hear from Mr. Attorney, because I don't think that's,
That's what the attorney.
and,
Mr.
Two
Callaway?
different, there's 2 different creatures at work here, as I understand it, Mr. Mayor and members of the board. There's legislation that authorizes us to support a private government economic development entity, and that authorizes us to pay $100,000 every year to Natchez Inc. That is the bill that this new resolution is for. The other matter is entirely a contractual agreement we have with people moving to this city through a Shift South agreement this board approved, and they have moved to the city under the terms of that Shift South Economic Development Agreement. We owe that money. We are not paying Natchez Inc. the money for the $6,000. The $6,000 is being administrated by an economic development partner, which is a local group that it does not stand, it stands alone without our money. It was privately formed, and they are just economic local agreements. So I see it as 2 different creatures. So we still gonna have to meet our Shift South obligations. If we funnel it through Natchez Inc., I don't see the problem. We are not paying Natchez Inc. $100,000 without legislation authorizing us to do that public-private investment in Natchez Inc.
But we can't allow them to administer.
I feel that we can.
Okay. Well, we'll entertain further discussion.
And call for the question.
Okay.
what is the motion? The
The
motion
motion is
this
to.
for the first?
We've already done the first one.
That's what I told Mr.
This is the 2 pending
Right.
It's 2 more,
invoices,
Ms. Hall.
the 2 more
That's how
pending
those 2.
invoices.
this is the pay,
How many is
This-
it all
this-
together?
We've already
First-
said
we're gonna pay this
Alderman Frazier?
this motion is for the pay disbursement.
We've already approved the motion to pay the Shift South invoices.
Of $6,000.
There were,
That's right. We
six,
already did
there were
that.
two, 6,100 each.
We're not paying
There's another motion now to pay two
Right.
pending invoices of 6,100 each
For Shift South.
for Shift South.
Okay, I just want to be clear, it's for
So
Shift
moved.
South.
For Shift South.
I did
The
that already.
motion was already moved. There's already a motion on the floor. Any
So
further
it was Smith and
discussion?
Dillard?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Alderman Frazier.
Just to the rest of the board, we're gonna, I think, let's say, we need to go out and pay it because it really will make this board and everybody else in the community really look bad after we went on national TV with this and got national recognition.
I couldn't agree with you more.
I think we, you know how I am, I'm telling like it is. And we done got all this national recognition, now we gonna crawfish back out the door.
Right.
Call for the
I
question.
just can't see it.
Alderman Frazier, I'm agreeing with you.
Okay.
Amen. The question has been called. Second? The question's been called and seconded. We will now proceed to a vote. All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The ayes have
Ooh,
it.
thank you, boy, y'all made my life a lot easier.
Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much.
thank
Mr. Callaway, the resolution that is on the agenda.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the Board of Aldermen. The funding mechanism for Natchez Inc. to pay them $100,000 a year is legislatively approved by our state, Senate, and House, and signed by the governor. That authority is about to expire. I have met with Scott Slover from the Board of Supervisors. We need to revive that legislation. We were not in a hurry to get this joint resolution drafted, thinking there was not going to be a special session this year. And even if there is a special session, there's no guarantee we're going to get this bill passed. But if they are, which they waffle on, we need to be in a position to present our bill to the legislature. The bill before you mirrors the 2015 request that was made to the legislature to authorize the payment of $100,000 to Natchez Inc. The Board of Supervisors will also have to pass this resolution. And the proposed bill is your last page, and it authorizes the city to pay, the city of Natchez to pay Natchez Inc. $100,000, and it authorizes the Board of Supervisors to pay Natchez Inc. $100,000 each year. The legislation would remain in effect until July 1st, 2026, if passed. And we have also requested this be applied retroactively to October 1, which is the beginning of our fiscal year. So,
So moved.
Well, you say retro, and it was back rates.
October 1 of
It won't be in the
2021.
back pay, Lord. It won't be in the back pay.
The current agreement expires September 3rd.
Okay, guys.
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Alderwoman Hall has made the motion.
Second.
Seconded by Alderman Dillard.
Mayor,
Yes?
it won't be in the back pay. You know, you can't go back to October 1.
That's what I'm talking about.
You can't go to October 1 because that money gonna be used to pay back the general fund, but it's 2,400, we finna do 24,000.
You're talking about the shift business, we're talking about the legislation
We're talking about the
to
legislative
continue the
bill.
Natchez Inc., correct?
But he's saying go back to October 1, Mr. Dillard.
No, beginning, this October 1, the beginning of.
If we go to
fiscal
October
year.
1, Mr. Dillard, the money we paying the general fund back right now, y'all just approved $24,000 go to Natchez.
He keeps telling me I can't hear what you're saying.
We just approved $24,000 to go in from general fund over to that Natchez EDA fund
For what purpose?
for Shift South.
Correct.
As the ad won't come in for the next 3 months, because we don't have legislation right now, it's gonna be used to pay the general fund back. So if you go back on legislation to October 1, you ain't gonna have no funds to, where we gonna get them from?
Well, I'm kind of with the attorney. I see these as two different things. The Shift South is agreement between the city of Natchez and Natchez Inc. is a facilitator. They're basically, the money comes in and they give it to who they're giving it to. So the 24,000 is, that again was for two Shift South.
It has to go in it has to go into that, you know, the millage you're getting from the Avalon, that .81, That's going into that Natchez EDA fund for October, November, December. We don't have legislation. So we're gonna put money from the general fund in that fund to pay Natchez Inc. for these Shift South bills. So how you gonna pay general fund back if you don't use that
Let me ask you,
money?
you said we don't have legislation. Are we currently under a
Two more
legislative
days.
act? 2 more days.
Yes, sir.
right? 2 more days. And
Yep.
what happens after 2 more days?
The money gonna-
Becomes October
We
1st,
we
right?
continue to collect the money, right? We'll collect the money every month still. Cause y'all pass millage. So we'll collect the millage. But how you gonna pay general fund back for this $24,000? It's getting paid back through millage. We just said that.
I don't understand any of it. I'm sorry.
It's in the motion,
A
Mr. Dillard.
millage that was collected this year at .8, whatever it is,
There's
is
nothing,
already going to go to Natchez Inc.
it's
correct?
gone. It's gone. No money left. It's
There's
it.
still money coming in. You got sales tax that are gonna come in after this.
That's
We're
not what
still in
this-
September. You won't collect this money until October.
But that's not what this motion says. Did you read the motion?
The motion is a simple motion
For Avalon
to
tax.
renew
Renew the agreement.
Renew the.
Natchez Inc.
No, the
It has
motion y'all
nothing to
just
do with
passed,
Shift
Mayor.
South.
The one you just passed. You
Which
read-
one are you talking about? The South?
It said
Shift
approval
South?
of loan from general fund to Natchez EDA to pay Shift South remote workers invoice to be paid back from Avalon taxes.
Okay, but we've now moved on to
So if
essentially
you back your-
renewing the Natchez Inc. agreement that they exist.
If you back the resolution up to October 1, the money's gonna be already gone.
Let me ask a question.
Okay, yes, Alderwoman Smith.
My question is, these invoices that we're talking about paying, do they have to come out of that ad valorem?
Yes, yes. The auditor's gonna be there, yes, ma'am.
The, who told you that?
The auditor, I talked to Tom Cheney himself.
Okay.
He said we
because
gotta
of the
use that,
Shift
we can use
South.
that, either that account, we gotta use the legislation.
So what was the total amount that we gave them?
It was 24,400.
No, I mean, the total amount our ad valorem has sent over there. Did we
100,000.
stop at
It's
100?
not, ain't nothing left.
Well, there's been years that we went over.
There's nothing left. We paid
Paid
three.
them 114 one year.
Miss Urban,
think-
I mean,
I
Miss
think
Hall,
we're-
we paid 3 Shift South already for 18,000 out of that fund.
Yes, we have.
Yeah, we paid 3
No,
Shift South already.
We agreed this was something the city was going to pay. And the city's been paying it, and we're going to honor it.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean we're not going to fund our economic development entity, which is Natchez Inc.
Mr. Mayor, I
So
have.
we've got to sort this out.
Offline.
And so, yes,
I have been in communication with our legislative delegation, and
yes,
they are in support of this resolution,
yes.
and they're asking for it in Jackson, whenever we pass it.
Yes, I am too, but just don't start at October 1, start at January 1, Mr.
We can't
Please.
because they have to be paid.
And
Yeah,
Mr.
January
Mayor,
1.
just so we understand, this legislation authorizes us to pay Natchez Inc. $100,000 annually. Doesn't say how we pay them, when we pay them, it authorizes $100,000. But if we don't back it up, and the legislature may not approve the retroactive request, but we're gonna make a request so that we never have a break in Natchez Inc. It's been fiscal year to fiscal year, Natchez Inc. is in our life.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes,
Yeah.
Alderwoman
So,
Smith.
Yeah, and our purpose for the ad valorem allocation was to make sure we had the funds to do it every year. So it's, like he said, this isn't a have to. That's what we opted to do to make sure, to set that aside for that, so that we would have it. So-
Economic development. We've always had
That's right.
economic
So I think we're
development.
good.
We've had
I
economic
think we're
development,
good.
but this says, like the city attorney just said, and I thought this was true, this funds Natchez Inc. It doesn't say
That's
where it
correct.
comes from.
Exactly.
It funds
So
Natchez Inc.
if we go over, we go over.
We could fund them, and we could ask the legislature, let's fund them $150,000 if we wanted. So, there we go.
It's a commitment to
It's-
renewing the
We're,
Yes.
relationship
We're
between the
done.
city of Natchez and Natchez.
so we're done. I will call for the question.
Paul, second.
Alderman Davis.
I understand all that, but when we take that money and spend it, and then we have to put it back into the general fund,
We just did.
we're gonna,
Spend it.
I'm still lost. I don't know which
No.
money they're spending, but
no, we're using that money, not below. When we take it over there and use it, spend it, and then we'll take the money out that we get in January
gonna be
and have to pay ourselves back.
I don't know how to answer that.
Mr. Mayor, hopefully our.
Y'all, I
ad valorem-
tell you what,
Question's been called.
this is quickly becoming an issue that we probably should discuss more offline, but for now, can we agree that we want Natchez Inc. to continue to exist.
Absolutely.
And as a result of that, we
Absolutely.
agree that we as a city will fund them $100,000
Yeah.
if the legislature so provides.
Yes.
All this Senate bill says is that we as a city can fund them $100,000.
We
It
agree.
doesn't say that it comes from a particular fund, ad valorem or otherwise. And I think we all would agree unanimously, we want to continue to fund Natchez Inc.
Absolutely.
Mr.
So-
Mayor, the question's been called.
Second on the question?
I did second.
All right, we'll proceed now to a vote. We will ask for a roll call vote. Alderwoman Hall?
Aye.
Alderman Frazier? Alderwoman Smith?
Aye.
Alderwoman Irving?
Aye.
Alderman Davis? Alderman Dillard?
Aye.
The ayes have it, motion carries.
One more thing, it's not controversial.
One more thing.
Not controversial.
Famous last words.
Mayor and members of the board, I have an original, I have to make one adjustment on the proposed bill, because originally, when it got to me, it had 165,000, and I cut it back to 100. And somehow 65 got left on there in the Board of Supervisors portion. I got cleaned that up, but I need y'all to sign this bill, this request. I've made spaces for everybody. I'll have the originals if you'll please sign it.
You don't wanna make the correction and then?
No, we need to sign
It's
it too.
just on the attachment. It's just one of-
All right, we will now move on. Next item.
Okay, yeah.
Approval of Natchez Balloon Festival
Oh.
sponsorship. The city does this every year, and we have a great event coming. The committee's been working very hard, and information about this in your packets. I believe the city in the past, what is the level of sponsorship that has been requested of the city
For what, Mayor?
for the balloon festival? Madam
We don't
Clerk?
have that in appropriation?
Oh, I'm sorry, tell me, I didn't hear you.
Yes, it is. It's budgeted for, but I just want to make sure as we approve this, we approve the right amount of sponsorship. And what is that amount?
I got a budget here, I'm not talking about email.
I thought it was in our
I got my
letter.
budget, let's see.
The city of, well, what we can do is we can simply say the same amount. We will entertain a motion at this time that we will be a sponsor at the same level we have been in previous years. And the city clerk will confirm that amount prior to cutting the check.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Alderwoman Smith, seconded by Alderwoman Hall. Any discussion? We will call for the question.
Called.
Second.
We'll proceed now to a vote. All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries. Permission to put information on breast cancer and to tie pink ribbons around the trees along the bluff. This is really for formality's sake. This is done every year.
It is.
But we always get a vote just to show the city's support.
Mhm.
I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Alderwoman Irving has made the motion. Alderwoman Smith has seconded. Any discussion on the motion? We will call for the question. We'll proceed to a vote. All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The ayes have it, motion carries. We have already taken care of the public hearing request. Discussion of school board appointment. This is something that we want everyone just to be aware of. I've had several meetings with Mr. Butcher and discussions, and we actually had a very good discussion today. Mr. Fred Butcher is, of course, our superintendent of education. We have been presented with an issue of whether or not we have one or more positions that need reappointment on the school board by the city. And we have looked into minutes. We have minutes from 2017 indicating that at that time there was an appointment made of Mrs. Newsom. That would indicate, if that was done in 2017, that would indicate that with a 4-year term, that position would have been expired and would be up for reappointment. We have minutes from 2016 indicating at that time that there was a motion to appoint Dr. Brenda Robinson. If that is the case, then that would mean that, we need to have reappointment of that position. We have some newspaper articles here indicating various dates, but we also have a letter that was written by Mayor Grinnell in 2018 indicating that Dr. Robinson's term didn't expire until March of 2023. I don't see the letter. This letter pertains to a different member of the board. Let me just say this. In discussions of this with Mr. Butcher, we have determined really the best course of action is that we would not take any action at this time other than to ask our city attorney to meet with the attorney for the school board and together sort through the documentation and come back with the findings that could be discussed with both the school board and the city board. If it is so determined that 1 or 2 appointments need to be made, we can take action at that time in the appropriate manner. But right now, I don't wish for the city to pursue without making sure our information is correct and that if it is indeed timely to make the appointment, if not, to clarify when the time would be to make that appointment. Does that make sense?
I agree with you, Mr.
Yes.
Mayor.
Alderman Frazier?
I agree with you simply because the reason I made the motion for Ms. Robinson, and I'm quite sure her time, she still got to, I think it's 20, 23, 24. What we elect, as you stated, we elect the attorneys and let's sort that out about the, when the terms expire.
So at this time, I would like, I'm sorry,
question.
Alderwoman Irving?
So
Yes.
when would Mrs. Newsom's term expire?
We don't know.
Okay, we don't.
That's the point
This
of
is
this.
17. Okay.
I would like to entertain a motion that we request our city attorney to meet with the attorney for the school board and come back to this board with their recommendations after they jointly meet.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Alderman Dillard has made the motion, and Alderwoman Irving has seconded that motion. Any discussion?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Yes,
I'm
Alderman
quite
Frazier.
sure, these appointees should know when their time is up. I don't think we should.
That's true. We've had just some conflicting information. When you look at the minutes say one thing, but
I agree, because,
Yeah,
minutes could be off,
Yeah, when they
we
were
have
filed.
had problems in the past with the minutes, but.
When they were filed, probably. Recorded and filed.
we need to just make sure, I think the attorney's meeting will be our best avenue. We don't want to go forward with anything unless it is determined it is the correct thing. All right, we'll call for the question. We'll proceed to a vote. All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Did I hear more than one aye? All in favor of the motion say aye?
Aye.
Okay. All opposed, nay? I think everybody's ready to go home and curl up with some Netflix or something. Here we go. We've got, y'all, the next item is simply a housekeeping item. I want to congratulate Alderwoman Sarah Carter Smith for her nomination to the Board of Directors for the Mississippi Municipal League.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to congratulate you on your nomination.
Well, thank you. You know, very few cities have a mayor and alderman, but a few do. And I was glad to see you at the meeting Friday.
I know.
So,
You too.
we just need approval for that travel.
So all this happened in Tunica while y'all were there this week? Oh, y'all got yourselves nominated.
No, we were there.
Actually, over the last couple months, we were nominated.
Appointed, yeah, nominated, appointed.
Okay.
We were appointed
Well, good.
by the executive board
Perfect.
to the board of directors. So
y'all gonna
Natchez
do
as
some
well.
good things for Natchez.
What's that?
You gonna do
Yes.
some good things for Natchez.
So we'll do
That's
some
right.
good things for
That's
Natchez.
right.
Always.
I was very glad to see this because it just didn't seem right that Crystal Springs had a mayor and an alderman on the board of directors. So there. We'll ask for a motion.
Call.
I did the motion.
You did. The motion has been made by Alderwoman Irving, seconded by Alderwoman Hall. We'll proceed.
Dillard called.
We'll proceed to a vote then. All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The ayes have it. I want to say one other thing, a very good report I want to make to you. Kind of saved it for the last, but we will soon be meeting with our lobbyists to talk about our priorities going forward. And if you'll recall, a year ago, we set out our priorities, we had a list, and you realize we've accomplished just about all of those priorities. The funding for Forks of the Road. There's more work to come, more funding to come, but we have seen so much happen there. We also, the funding that was necessary to finish the Bellwood Levee project. We got that done. That paved the way now for Velazquez to sign. We also saw the funding come through, almost $5 million for renovation of the airport runways. That's been a very good thing. I'd say, and there's several other things we could mention, just bottom line, a return on our investment, I'd say we've had a huge return. So now is the time for us to begin discussing our priorities going forward for the new year. And so today I had the honor of meeting with one of the top aides to Senator Roger Wicker, Brad Ferguson. And I've already had this conversation with Manning, McPhillips, and Greg Harper. And today I started the conversation with Brad Ferguson. Our number one priority item for the new year will be drainage projects for the city of Natchez to include all of our areas from North Natchez to Concord to Roselawn to the other areas that have been mentioned. And it is very timely that you brought this up, Alderman Dillard, and you didn't even know we'd had the meeting today. And so we will be moving forward, and we will follow your suggestion that we have a committee to work on this.
And I would like to be a part of that committee.
Okay, Alderman. In addition to that, and it may actually be a committee of the whole.
Okay.
And we can do that.
Great.
Where the committee is all
Right.
of us,
Right.
because all wards have these issues.
Absolutely.
So let it be known that that is our number one legislative priority going into the next year. Another legislative priority that was discussed today is we're getting very close to having final figures on lighting the bridges, and that will become a part of our legislative priority. We have gotten the quote down to, and this is all the bells and whistles, but we already have a quote now for the infrastructure, just the equipment of 1.7 million, and we're waiting now on the quotes. We'll see what we come in at for the installation. We're expecting that will probably come out to a total of around 4 million, and our idea is that we will look to the state of Louisiana for a third, the state of Mississippi for a third, and what was discussed with Brad Ferguson today is a third from the federal government, being that this is a federal highway. So, so that's good. And then we also are waiting any day to see the passage of a massive infrastructure bill in Washington. And with all hope, it will pass, and that will provide the funds for Morgantown Road. So there's some good things to report.
There is.
Alderwoman Irving.
I was just gonna ask, what about broadband with that infrastructure money? Would that be addressed
We
as well?
certainly can talk about that. You know, I've only hit on 2 or 3 items. Our priority list last year was 5 or 6 items long. I expect we'll have a lengthy list this year also. And the good news also is we very likely are not going to have to go into our ARP funds for all of this. We're going to be able to get these done through special appropriations at the federal and state levels, like we did last year. So, it's good to have some lobbyists. Also, the chief has asked us, Chief Daltrey has asked us to announce the National Night Out. It'll be on the Bluff October 5th, and we look forward to a good turnout there. And they have music. You'll see Matt Willis Trio, Vic Allen, and also what is Superstar? I can't read.
Nick Alley.
Is that Nick Allen, Superstar?
Alley.
Is it Vic?
Vic Alley, thank you. My glasses. Y'all, that's gonna be a great night. Also, I want to remind everyone that this Friday, the Chamber After Hours music series starts at the bandstand. We want to support that. And we are also working on a special event that will take place on the Thursday before the balloon race weekend. That Thursday will be a free event with music in rhythm. It will be held at the bandstand, and we're hoping to have some food, refreshments available.
What time is that, Mayor?
And I believe it's live at 5, so it's at 5 p.m.
It's at 5 p.m.,
Yeah,
okay.
5 p.m. That is all I have.
Move to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
I think that motion.
That's fine.
Motion made by Alderwoman Hall, and it was seconded by Alderman Davis, and it was a unanimous vote.
Please sign.
Alderman Smith. Alderwoman Smith made the motion. I don't know. Y'all, I gotta go home. I gotta go.